Hello, welcome everyone. Assessment is free. Kanika ji, good evening. And those who have all, some of you have already got your certificate. If you have already taken the assessment, please type yes in the chat box. Those who have already taken the assessment, please type yes in the chat box if you have already taken the assessment. Good evening, Shivanandam ji. Yeah, Manas ji, I've just replied to you on email with the step-by-step guide. Piyush ji, you've taken the assessment? Okay, but your results will be uploaded on Atal on. You should keep half an hour for your assessment. So 6:30 will be valedictory. 6:45 to 7:15, mm, we can take your you can take your assessments. Otherwise, assessment is online. You can take even before. Some of you have already taken. Murtaza ji, good evening. Yes, Chitra Devi ji, good evening. You have completed the assessment. That's great, but the results will be uploaded on 18th. So please do wait till then because other colleagues have not taken the attendance. Hello, Dr. Pramod. How are you?
Just a second. Yeah, hi. Can you hear
Ka-
me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Kamna.
You have you have got a nice backdrop today with digital
No, no, I will let me
solutions.
change it.
No, it's fine. It can be,
Uh-huh.
it's fine.
Okay.
I thought it's nice. Why are you changing it?
Uh-huh. No, the digital solutions is on the flip side. So,
Is that your company logo?
yeah, it's company logo. So,
Okay, 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 okay. Right. So this particular FDP, we have 800 plus registrations
wow. So
and
this is the
almost
biggest session then.
350 faculty members. Yeah, almost 350 faculty members are joining every day. And I'm getting almost
Uh-huh.
50 personal DMs for those who are not able to log in or those who are not listening to the instructions. So the assessment is on Future Skills Prime. Uh, attendance is on Zoom, and assessment is free of cost if you go to your groups. Email IDs have been enabled. So your registered email ID on Atal is your login ID as well as your password. And when you put that in the login ID as well as password, it will ask you to reset your password. Yes, if you can complete all 33 modules, that will be it. You have time till Sunday. You can complete all the modules and then take the assessment till Sunday. We are giving you time. On Monday, we will ask the agency for scores. Then on Tuesday, we will upload it. You will get. You can go to Atal and you can give the feedback and then download your certificate. So, okay. Now tell me, where is the assessment? I want some responses. Where are your assessments? If you can tell me in the chat. Where is the assessment going to be? Can I get some answers? If we extend the assessment, Dr. Ramachandran, if we extend up to Monday, then uh, the results will be delayed. Then maybe you'll get it by next Monday, which is 27th or 28th, 9th, or maybe by 1st March. Future Skills Prime. Future Skills Prime, correct. Nala Maliji, correct. It's Future Skills Prime. Right. So the assessment is on Future Skills Prime. Yes, correct. Akshay Malia ji, very good. You have to go to Future Skills Prime, go to groups, take the assessment, that first and third card, correct. Harshil ji, correct. It is Future Skills Prime. Right. Xavier Paul Rajan ji, correct. Nikal Umarnia ji, correct. Future Skills Prime. That's the site. And I'm just showing that site over here also. Just sharing my screen. This is the site, Skills Prime. I hope everyone can see this site. And on this site, you will log in with the registered email ID on Atal. So suppose your email ID is, suppose say kamna@gmail.com. So you will log in. Your email ID will be, your login will be here, kamna@gmail.com, and password is also kamna@gmail.com, and then it will ask you to reset your password. So you can do that, and then you can go to groups. So like see, now there is nothing in groups. So what you need to do is, you need to, two options are there. Either you can refresh the page from here, you can reload the page, this round thing, you can reload this page, and you will get all your groups. Okay, so this is your group, AICT Atal Online FDP DAF STEM participants. All right, Murthy ji. I know it's 33 modules are there, but they are small modules, and we are giving you time till Sunday to complete this. So please try to complete card 1 and 3. I'm showing you card 1 and 3 now. This is card 1, Digital Application Fundamentals card. And then this is the assessment. It's completely free of cost. You don't have to pay a penny. So please type. Yeah, you can take the assessment anytime till Sunday, Ankit Patel ji. We are giving you till Sunday. Because it is online now, on Future Skills Prime. So you can take it anytime till Sunday. So I want now that you guys should tell me, there is no assessment on Atal. The assessment is on Future Skills Prime. So now I just want you guys to tell me tomorrow's assessment. Yeah, anytime you can take till Sunday. Now I have one more question for everyone. Please type in the, no, you need a camera because it's online proctored. So we please attempt it from a laptop. Assessment should attempt from a laptop, not with your. So try to do the assessment sitting in one place, and you have only one chance to take the assessment. So there will be few questions. It will take you about half an hour for that. So tell me now, the question is the assessment free or paid? If you can just put it in the chat if you know. Is the assessment free or paid? Absolutely right. Kamal ji, Dr. Patel ji, Dr. Ramachandran ji, Bhavin ji, Deepti ji. It's complete of cost. Varsha Devi ji, Vishant Parmar ji, Padmaja ji, Dr. Sita. Correct. We can give it on Sunday. Yeah, there are few questions are there. Wrinkle ji, you'll just have to see the few questions are there, but it'll take you about half an hour, not more than that. So I'll stop the share now. I think you guys are clear now that you can take this as Sunday. It's completely free of cost and it's on Future Skills Prime. You have to go in groups and there you have to find your group and then take the assessment. Second, no, there are not two assessments. Only one assessment is there on Future Skills Prime. You have only one shot to take that assessment. You have to score 70% and above, because 70% and above will mean that you will get an Atal certificate. So, yes. Complete Kan and card 3. It's better, Varsha ji, if you can complete everything. Card 1 and card 3. You can leave out card 2. That is not mandatory. Card 2 is not mandatory. With that, I will take a pause here. I think I've explained and I think you all have understood. So now I would like to introduce Dr. Pramod Dasan. He is our international expert. He is joining us all the way from Prague. And he works with DHL IT Group Services. He's responsible for customer experience and customer service. And he has kindly consented to take these sessions. So over to you, Dr. Pramod.
Yeah, thanks, Kamna.
Yeah, Deepti ji, you can get the NASCOM certificate when you finish card 1. Yeah, I'll share the PPTs in a while. I'll share. Thank you.
Yep. Welcome to the Responsible AI and case studies. Um, so the agenda for today's topic would be what is responsible AI? Why are we looking at responsible AI? What principles are available in the responsible AI? The frameworks. We talk about two frameworks there, and we'll be looking at three case studies. One from IBM, H&M, and Accenture. How AI, responsible AI, is implemented on their use cases. And then the final module would be on global regulations on AI topics. Um, we look at the global regulations in, let's say, US, Europe, India. So these are the three areas that we'll be looking at. And what are the challenges and implementations around this topic? So the some of the housekeeping rules are there'll be three modules. It'll be a mix of slides and videos. There are some videos I cannot play it because of restrictions on my end. So I will copy the URL link into the chat window and you may see it at your own convenience. There'll be like two such videos which I cannot play the link because of my location here. Um, if there are any questions, you can put it in the chat window. I'll be monitoring the chat window and I'll take up the questions towards the end of each module. So there'll be three modules where I'll be taking up the questions. And finally, we have the Q&A and we'll wrap it up. So with that, we will talk about responsible AI. So when we say responsible AI, it's nothing but ethical use of deploying an AI use case, ensuring transparency, fairness, accountability, societal benefits, right? So if you're deploying a system through an AI based, for example, a loan based application where anybody can apply for a loan and you want your AI system to look at the risk profile of a customer for the retail banking and then approve the loan or not, or give a rear view mirror for the loan approver manager, for example. So here, let's say if a person is applying, you cannot develop a system based upon bias. For example, if you're deploying it in India, you cannot, you have to train a model to look at the actual factual data and not look at bias data such as caste, creed, or occupation, right? So this reduces a bias and risk and also protects one's privacy as well. So for this, what is important is the diverse training data that will ensure that we do not have bias in our system. So with that, let's watch a quick video on responsible AI. And we also talk about how some of the people are relying on AI, especially there's a clinical term called AI psychosis, where people who are alone does not have a social circle of friends. They rely on AI and how AI, the clinical terminology called AI psychosis, are coming into existence now. So we'll watch these two videos to kickstart the session.
What is responsible AI? Artificial intelligence systems can impact on people and society in good ways and bad ways. Responsible AI provides a framework for making good decisions on how artificial intelligence is used to manage its many impacts. It is important that councils use AI systems in a responsible way and know when it's not appropriate to use AI. This will make sure that any use
Can you increase the volume?
contribution. So, what are some of the elements of responsible AI? Fairness, equality, and inclusion must be considered. All AI systems are trained on data, and the quality of this data has a direct impact on the quality of the outputs that AI systems create. AI systems will reflect and reproduce existing biases and inaccuracies in datasets. Privacy and data protection laws must be considered. Many uses of AI systems might involve processing personal data, such as when AI is used to write tailored letters to residents. Sometimes a resident might be asked to consent to or opt out of their data being used in this way. At other times, a public consultation might be needed to justify a council's use of personal data in an AI system. Transparency and explainability must be considered. Councils must be transparent with staff and residents about when and how AI systems are being used, and how any decisions enabled by AI have been made. Councils also need to consider what will need to be done if an AI system creates an output or process that does not fulfill its purpose. Environmental costs must be considered. Many current AI systems have a high carbon and water use footprint, and AI-based systems may use much more energy than the alternatives. Councils must consider the careful balance between scaling up AI use and any sustainability impacts, in accordance with the Council's strategy and policies. While AI systems can support everyday work and help in complex decision-making, responsibility and accountability for tasks completed with AI rests with the person or people involved in the sign-off process. It is important to identify who is accountable for each part of AI system design, its deployment, and its use. Familiarize yourself with the pillars of responsible AI. Think about how AI is implemented, who it affects, and how it affects them. Responsible AI is a framework that must be used in all instances where AI systems are used and integrated into council processes and work. Does your council have policies on responsible AI? How might any existing policies on cybersecurity, data protection, and sustainability guide the way you engage with AI? Has your council established clear lines of accountability for using specific AI systems in your service area?
Yeah. So the council here means it's the department who works on deploying AI applications. So that's what council means here. So let's quickly look at AI psychosis terminology.
Der Kryptobulle ist los.
Head of Artificial Intelligence says he is alarmed by the rising cases of a phenomenon dubbed as AI psychosis. It's a non-clinical term used to describe those who rely so heavily on chatbots such as Copilot or ChatGPT that they become convinced something imaginary is real. Zoe Kleiman reports.
Hugh from Scotland says he became convinced that he was about to become a multi-millionaire after turning to an AI chatbot to help him when he lost his job. It began by giving him practical advice, but ended up telling him that a book and a movie about his experience would make him more than £5 million.
The more information that I give the chatbot, the more it would say, "Oh, this treatment's terrible. You should really be getting more than this." And it would ask me for more information. I would feed it more, and the number would just get higher and higher. It would go from 10 grand to into the millions, basically.
Hugh already had mental health problems and ended up having a breakdown. He says taking medication made him realise the money wasn't real. He doesn't blame the technology. He says it signposted citizens' advice, but he ignored it because it was so convincing.
AI psychosis is a non-clinical term to describe people who start using chatbots like ChatGPT, Grok and Claude and start to lose touch with reality. I've had messages from people convinced that the tech has fallen in love with them, or think they've unlocked a secret human inside it, or even think it's deliberately trying to harm them.
A survey of 2,000 UK adults carried out for Bangor University's Emotional AI Lab found that 57% thought it was strongly inappropriate for the tech to identify as a real person if asked. But 49% thought the use of voice was appropriate to make chatbots sound more engaging. 20% thought children under the age of 18 shouldn't use AI at all.
we as professionals and doctors may start having to ask people when we see them in clinic how much AI they're using, how it's affecting their lives, just like we would for smoking, alcohol. We already know what ultra processed foods can do to the body, and I think with this ultra processed information we're going to get an avalanche of ultra processed minds that we need to deal with.
The advice is to make sure you double check everything a chatbot tells you and don't stop talking to real people. Finally, if you feel like you're using AI to make all your decisions for you, think about taking a step back. Zoe Clark.
Yeah. So that's AI psychosis. Now let's talk about from what is responsible AI. Let's understand why responsible AI is required. Let's understand with an example. So Japan started developing the killer robots or the soldier robots. So there was one incident which happened, which ensured that this technology is good as well as it's very bad for the society. So in order to be, since it's a victim of the nuclear bombs which was dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, so it said it played with the technology and it said that it will not develop the soldier robots or the killer robots. Primary reason is one, so they were trying with 3 robotics in their lab, and so the project leader wanted to disassemble one of the soldier robot, and there was a feedback instruction which was in the system. So what happened was when the first robot was being dismantled, the second and the third robot knew that the first one is getting dismantled. So then it started to search for how to assemble the robot back. It also, so when they tried to do this, it started to kill, to use a rifle and start pistols to start killing the project team. And when they tried to unplug the network physically, it started to connect back to the backup satellite link and started to download the instructions and rebuild. So given how fast the robots can learn through the AI-based applications, so they decided that it will not deploy killer robots, right? And you can see some of the robots are also even deployed in India. I think there's a robot called Mule, which can carry large, heavy weight in terms of logistics for the soldiers in the border area. So these are all some of the things that when we develop an AI, we should be responsible enough to develop an AI system. So that's why responsible AI is very important. So I'll copy this link and you can watch it at your convenience on how the soldier robots are is being developed in that particular screenshots in the video, right? Let's look at another example. So this is an example. DPD is a delivery company, a logistics provider in Europe, which delivers. It's like similar to Blue Dart or Delivery or other delivery applications or the vendors supported from India as well. So here the DPD started off rolling out chatbot for enabling the customer service. Apparently, there's a concept called hallucination in AI system, where you have to put a guardrail when you build such systems. If you don't put a guardrail, it will spiral off and give you tangential answers. So here this happened when the DPD chatbot started to swear at customers. And if you see, the swearing started off because the end user started to prompt. And based upon the prompt, it started to look into the prompts and started to answer it. But there were no exception handling done on the chatbot. So this is one of also the reason why responsible AI needs to be developed. There are guardrails when you deploy an AI system should be in place, right? So under responsible AI umbrella, so what are we dealing with? The first and the foremost thing is risk management. AI system possesses various risks, right? So one important thing is the privacy and security, right? Because we are processing one's personal information and sensitive data. And if this sensitive data falls in the hands of unauthorized, let's say an unauthorized access from a hacker who breaks into the system, tries to hack your data, which is stored centrally, it might lead to misuse, right? And also, we are working with a technology where the software also has vulnerabilities, which has to be vulnerabilities is nothing but a technical debt where you need to patch or upgrade the system accordingly to keep it up and running. If not, your hackers find the entry points to your system to download the data. So the responsible AI enables and enforces organization to establish the policies and procedures, mainly to mainly to identify the threat, prevent it, manage it, and treat this risk effectively, right? This is the link which has the DPD chatbot, which was covered in the news on hallucination. The second part is regulatory compliance, right? So there are existing laws and regulations which needs to be followed by the companies when you develop AI systems and you deploy it, right? For example, in Germany, if I'm developing an application, if I give it to the end user to use within a company, I have to get an approval from the workers' council, which is equivalent to your labor council. So I cannot deploy a system both in private institution or in a public institution without approval from the labor union. That's an example where the regulatory compliance needs to be accomplished. The second part is role of standardization institution. There are an example of two institutions. One is the ISO, International Standard Organization. The second one is the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. These are all two bodies which provide the requirement specifications and the best practice in developing an AI system, which guides the organization so that they use it responsibly, right? Within the regulatory compliance, the another important item to look at is importance of compliance, right? This regulatory framework helps in achieving the compliance because you are legally bound to ensure that your organization works in a compliant way. If not, you get a huge penalty. For instance, Chrome had this incognito mode browser, and Google Chrome was sued about 5 billion euros in Europe, right? There are similar cases where even in India, there are breach has happened, and then they put such fines, but the organization finds a way to escape such penalties. The third one is bias mitigation. This one I've shared with an example. When we develop AI system, we do model training. It's called machine learning models, right? And when we build such models, we feed in the data and we train the system for certain efficiency. And when we deploy the system out for the end user, when the new data comes in, based upon the model, it will predict and then it will tell whether it's a positive outcome or a negative outcome. For example, the loan application, right? So here, when you are training the model, you need to ensure that you have all possible data available so that you do not give the data on a bias mode and develop the model in such a way that it gives you a biased outcome. So the responsible AI lays out proper consideration and provides and guides the application in building a bias-free AI system. For instance, Facebook was again sued, or the Meta was sued, because what happened? It started using target marketing. So if your kids, let's say, take a photograph or a selfie, uploads it onto the Facebook or Instagram, deletes it within a couple of hours, it means that something happened or this person is not confident about the way he or she looks. So using this ring fence of the data, Meta was able to target customers or target advertisement for promoting cosmetic items to look better and improve their appearance, right? So this is the wrong way of usage of data. So it was sued. So this is an example of bias mitigation in developing an AI application, right? So let's look at what are the principles of responsible AI. So there are 5 principles uh, we can categorize. One is the fairness, inclusiveness, transparency, privacy and security, reliability and safety, and accountability. So in our upcoming use cases, you will see H&M, for example, has 9 principles, which is an extended form of this 5 principles. Maybe they have detailed out in certain areas. So as such, different organization has developed various iterations in terms of the responsible AI. Ultimately, it boils down to this 5 principles. Let's look at it from a Microsoft perspective. So here I said 5. Here you see there are 6. H&M has 9. So this will give you a context of every single principle, what it means with an example. So a principle from Microsoft is fairness. For example, bias can affect results. This is an example. What we said is about the loan approval, where it discriminates by gender due to the bias in the data which it is trained. So you should ensure that you collect the data, for example, both male and female, and you should train your data. Reliability and safety. This one I've showed, for example, in Meta, it might use a workflow of the user and it starts targeting it. So safety, for example. We can also relate the same thing as well as privacy and security. Let's say if you start uploading the kids' photograph, you can have deep fakes created. So you can see this in one of the upcoming videos on privacy and security, where Deutsche Telekom, which is a service provider in Germany, which recommends parents not to upload their kids' image for online, because if you see the terms and conditions for every single app like Meta or etc. are being updated, and we don't look at the fine prints and we just say approve. For example, if you turned on the smart reply AI enabled service on your Gmail, it basically can look at all your data which is stored on your 15 GB drive, which is free of charge. It can learn and start writing responses, email responses for you, right? You have given access to your photographs, access to your documents, etc. This is an example of privacy. Let's say if it gets hacked, it might fall under a wrong thing and people start generating deepfakes. And also it might use, Google can use the data for the training purpose. That's why if you look at China, they are very, very strict in terms of data localization. You cannot have their data elsewhere, even same case of Russia, for example. Inclusivity or inclusiveness, the solution may not work for everyone. So let's say if you're developing an application, if you are training only with male data of a working population, and suddenly if a female data comes for a loan approval system, it will reject because it is not trained for processing a loan approval for a female data. So that's inclusivity. Transparency, the user must trust the complex system. So AI-based financial tools makes investment recommendations, but you should know what is it used for. If you are in investment on your FIRE plan, you give all your data, and then let's say the AI Copilot gives you recommendations of, let's say, top 5 stocks which you can invest. As we've seen in AI psychosis, you cannot just blindly follow. You still need to do your own diligence, minimum a technical analysis, before you can start buying your stock or investments, right? So that's transparency. Accountability, who's liable for AI-driven decisions? Innocent people incurrently convicted, for example, in the crime on evidence base, who's responsible? Is it responsibility of the chief data officer or DPO, data protection officer in the group? I will also cover this in global regulations. For instance, in Germany, if any of the personal identification information, it's called PII, if it is exposed or falls in the hands of a hacker, right? Without any questions, the person who's responsible here, the DPO or the chief information security officer, will be put into jail without asking any questions. So that's how GDPR, it's one of the regulatory regulations in Europe, is enforced. So that's how strict they are in terms of data privacy and protection, right? Let's look at fairness and inclusiveness, what it means. I've already covered. We'll quickly scan it across. So the AI system must ensure that all users are treated fairly. Loan example, uh, gender biases in terms of hiring. We will also see a similar thing in, I think, in IBM use case. Sorry, in Accenture use case, we will see that in the video how they use the data inclusively across the board so that the system is fair and inclusive. On research and model development, so this is the machine learning. So as we build the ML model, we have given and trained the data using our historical data. And when the system is deployed, we also see the new data comes in. And we need to keep monitoring the model efficiency. Let's assume it's called ML operations. If your model goes in terms of efficiency due to the new data, you need to do upgrade of the models, retrain them, and bring up to the highest efficiency so that the outcome is reliable as well, right? Implementations of inclusive design methods. So here, employing inclusive design practices that allows organization to understand and accommodate. For example, data selections in model is very, very important. We include all data from diverse background. In terms of factors, if you're deploying a HR system, then you should ensure that you give all possible data, accessibility, culture, language, socioeconomic status, and train the model when you deploy an AI system, right? An example would be if I'm applying a job in US through the portal, there you have an option that the gender is a non-mandatory field, which means that I don't need to give the gender when I apply for a job. While in India, it's different. In some cases, you might need to declare your caste, your subcaste information when you're applying for certain jobs because we have different regulations, right? The next principle is transparency. Clear definition of an AI outcome. If I build a system, what is the outcome of the system is going to be? So, and what are the data algorithms that I use, and how is the final model and its assets? So this has to be clearly defined. This ensures transparency. This also will be very, very helpful during regulatory compliance audits, right? And there should be an open communication with the end user. So it is very, very essential how we will communicate, how this AI system operates, how the data is processed, how it makes a decision to ensure the user understands how the data is utilized. For example, if I give my data for loan processing, and then let's say if my loan is rejected, I can go and I can ask why my loan application was rejected, and the bank officer has to provide me clear instructions. It's right to ask for those informations, and then you can accordingly take a wise call. So that's open communication with the end user. Establishment of interpretability criteria. So when we do the development within the AI systems within an organization, we should establish interpretability criteria outlining the necessary explanations for AI system, how the decisions are done, how it is presented to the end user. All right. So if you're building a loan system, you need to have a risk profile of the customer. So how do you do a risk profiling of a customer? So it's similar to your credit score rating or CIBIL score, for example. You look at average income, for example, for the last 36 months. If you see there is an unemployment, then you flag that this particular person is at risk. And let's say if a person is coming at an age group of 60, you do not want your application to give a loan because it's already almost towards the end of his life. He cannot be employable, so the risk of repayment is quite high. So these are all some of the interpretability criteria. Documentation of AI behavior. So it's also important that we build a documentation for how the system behaves. This ensures accountability, facilitate the understanding of the overall operation. It's very, very important during audit purpose how the system behaves. It's also a part of the regulatory compliance to document what all the AI systems that we have. It's called SNAI catalog, how we use it, where are we using it. Those are all very, very important. What data are we using it? How data is protected in terms of privacy and security. Since I spoke about data, of course, one of the other principle is privacy and security. So this is in line with the, for example, here we talk about two regulations. One is GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, which is which we will be going through in EU regulations. And then we also talk about California Consumer Privacy Act, which governs the collection, processing, and and storage of data. So if you look at US regulations, is state-wise. There are 52 states. There will be 52 Privacy Act. So organization needs to ensure that those data which we are using for developing AI systems are protected. The confidential sensitive informations are as per the ISMS. IMS stands for Information Security Management System, which documents policies, process, tools, and controls for identifying it. For example, if I'm a database administrator, I have access to the data, but I should not be downloading data onto my personal devices. That's a policy, for example. So this is again the video which unfortunately I'm unable to play this because of restriction. You can watch this. This is the Deutsche Telekom ad on deepfake AI, so that which is advising parents not to upload kids' personal information online. The next principle is reliability and safety. Reliability means consistent of the AI application to deliver the same result if I present different form of data. Safety means I should not be using this data for some other purpose. Example, Meta, for example, using the data for target advertisement. That's not public safely using informations. Using just because I upload photos on Facebook, because there is this there was a trend, you upload your image, we will tell you how you will look when you're old at age of 70, and people started uploading the data and they were tagging in, this is how I look at 70. So that's nothing but AI system, and Meta is asking you to give your photos and give the consent, and it will process the information, right? And then tomorrow, this when you read the terms and conditions, your picture can be used for marketing purpose without your knowledge, without your consent. So that's incorrect, right? So that talks about the safety aspects, which is one of the principles. So for an AI system to be safe, it must be adequately able to respond to the new situations without harming the user, aim to minimize the negative impact. The last principle is accountability. Okay, if something bad happens, who is responsible? Who's accountable for it in an organization? So this is normally, there are two persons who you hate within the organization. One is the data protection officer or a chief data officer, or the CISO, which is the chief information security officer. Because the chief information security officer will ensure that the system is without technical debt, all the patches are applied, and the chief data officer is the one who signs off on the AI system data provisioning, what data to be used, who will have access, who will give all the control measures, etc. So if anything happens with the data, then these two people are the one who will end up in jail if they are in Germany. So with that, we complete the principles of AI. Let's look at the framework for the responsible AI. As I mentioned earlier, there are two institutions. The first institution is NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. So this is based upon risk management framework. So the regulatory framework ensures that the companies develop ethical AI systems and deploy the systems, and also are establish a standard of data privacy and security so that they can protect the individual rights. Right. So this is based on the right hand side. If you see, this is based upon map, measure, govern, and manage. So these are the framework within this NIST framework. The next one is ISO standard, which is the International Standard Organization. It's similar to ISI in India. So 42001 is a standard that provides the organization with the guidelines how to implement AI systems. What are the policies, procedures, best practices for the use of development, and how do we provision this AI system for the end user, right? So when we look at the framework, it is plan, do, check, act, PDCA model that outlines the steps to execute controls continuously, how to improve the managed systems. I can give an example. So in a warehouse, we have pickers and packers who go around warehouses to pick the goods, right? So it was manual and people have to walk long distance. People have to employ a lot of people. So let's say if I need to build an AI system that will have a guided handheld device that will tell you, okay, go now to rack 4, row 5, pick up this box. So if I deploy such systems, right, and that system, that row is nothing but is always on the bottom of the rack. So I have to keep going and picking up this item. So for a warehouse, right, if I give 40 jobs in 1 hour, this person will go around in the warehouse picking up items on the bottom shelf, which means that the person will get a backache, which means that that's a health occupational hazard. So I should develop a system. When I ask the picker to pick a package, I should ensure that I activate all the muscles for this person. I cannot just deploy a system, go pick always from rack 5. That's an incorrect usage of system, right? So these are all certain standards that comes into picture from a regulatory perspective of the health of an employee or well-being of an employee, right? So these two institutions govern in all the principles, all the 5 principles, what we've seen above for building an AI system, right? So that finishes the first module. So now, before we enter into the case studies, are there any questions? I'll give a minute and then check the webinar chat if there's any question. Yeah, if there's no questions, then I'll move. Any tools should you use? On the framework part, I think every company uses the framework part. You have a checklist. It can be on a SharePoint online where you publish the policies in place. So there's no such tool like from IBM. Okay, Power BI used to do reports. It's not like that. A simple Excel sheet is good enough for the principles, collecting it in a SharePoint, for example. So you don't need to buy any COTS product, off-the-shelf product for this. GenAI can use to develop your principles and framework. Copilot, for example, you can use it in order to build an ISO 42001. What are the things that I need to develop? LLM is large language model. It's more used for prompting. Here we are talking about, we are not talking about how the use case is built. We are talking about the responsible AI concept. LLM is a way, or I talked about the model, for example, right? That's where the LLM comes into picture. So for LLM, being responsible AI, you will check what data should I be processing in LLM. So we talk about the governance part here. Okay, so what should one should do during installation of an app in my phone, which requires so many permissions during installation? That's why you have Play Store and App Store. So you have to be mindful. You have to look at some of the apps, like, for example, some of the Chinese app transmits data. For example, Temu, for instance, Temu is a shopping app from China. In Europe, you have to be mindful because once you download, you also give a consent that he or she, the application can access your contacts, your images, etc., which can be used or transmitted remotely for various purposes. So my advice is I have a burner phone, and if I know that this particular app, first of all, I would download the app from an app store or Google Play Store. Second one, if I see this app is from China or any other country, I would always use a burner phone to do it. So that's the easy one. So now let's look at Watson Orchestrate. So when we talk about AI application, right? So what's an AI application? How does it look? I would be curious, right? So this is an IBM Watson Orchestrate. It's an assistant used for the HR system. Let's look at this in a video. If you have used Microsoft 365 Pilot, it's quite similar to that, or ChatGPT, for instance.
IBM Watson X HR agents are pre-built AI agents that can simplify HR operations right out of the box, no coding required. Let's see how they work. Your employees can easily navigate common HR tasks and find the answers they need. All they have to do is simply ask the agent. The agent guides them by asking for the inputs needed to complete the task. It can autonomously use tools to plan and act, performing tasks while reflecting on the result to learn and refine their approach. Multi-agent orchestration allows the agent to collaborate with other AI agents and jump from one request to another, so you can spend less time toggling between apps and more time getting things done. Be it looking up your benefit enrollments or navigating leave management or anything in between, you can do it all in one seamless chat experience. The agent is your single front door to systems such as Workday, SAP, and Oracle. So instead of using 10 to 15 tools for a process, you only need to use one. And you can know if you are getting the right answers by looking up the agent's logic and chain of thought reasoning to show you how it arrived at the answer. These agents are available out of the box in an easily searchable catalog. Take the agent further by extending it in no code. Just select Use Agent to go to the Agent Builder Studio. Here you can connect to your specific content to ground the agent, create custom tools, collaborate with other agents, and deploy in channels like Slack. The result is a shift toward more streamlined processes and strong employee support. Reinvent the future of work with Watson X HR agents.
So that's an example of the agent in the HR part. Next, we talk about the responsible AI. Here you have the head of AI from H&M. how they build the system. It gives you a full overview of how AI is being used, being deployed.
A wonderful thing about working with AI is that it's impossible to become bored. You wake up an ordinary Tuesday morning and Mona Lisa is talking. I mean, who would have thought after all these years? It's impossible to become bored because the AI development is delivering jaw-dropping news on a regular basis as both research and adaptation is moving forward rapidly, and many industries are facing new unexpected challenges. For example, I love reading about the legal community scratching their heads as people are trying to sue algorithms. Or the art world arguing about authorship when Christie's here in New York sold an AI-generated artwork for the first time last fall. Who should we blame when things go wrong? And who should get credit when things succeed? Is it the creator of the algorithm, the user, the trainer, or the AI model itself? It's really confusing and so interesting, I think. As a former journalist and writer, I get particularly excited about new research in natural language processing, and especially text generation. Finally, we might have a treatment for the terrible condition writer's block. But also, and I admit this more serious, better and better tools for creating misinformation on a grand scale. So serious that OpenAI decided not to release the full version of their latest language model for safety and security reasons. Following the AI development is a constant mix of amazement, hope, and fear. Like all technology, AI can be used for good or for bad. The same type of algorithm can be used to improve healthcare or to produce fake news videos. Today's AI can be of enormous benefit to society or a threat to democracy, depending on how it is used. So in that sense, it is like any other tool, just a very, very powerful one. But the tricky thing with machine learning is that even with the best intentions from the creators, even if you really want to do good, things can still go terribly wrong. And I think we've all seen the potential dangers and the early public missteps with self-learning algorithms. Chatbots becoming racist, triggered by comments on Twitter, or image recognition systems trained on unrepresentative data. And none of these were meant to cause any harm, and yet they did. We humans have created a very powerful technology that is complex and unpredictable, and still very immature, both the technology itself and our conversation in society around it, because we haven't really learned how to control it yet. And I think powerful and immature is a very interesting combination. It's like an almighty toddler, and we're often letting this toddler out in the world with minimal parental guidance, letting it make its own decisions and act on them. In the early days of AI adaptation, there's been a lot of bad parenting. A few weeks ago, I was listening to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who called digital ethics and responsible AI the question of our time. I agree with him, and I don't think we need to wait for a potentially conscious artificial general intelligence that will treat us all as ants, because the questions are pressing enough, challenging enough as they are today. The most pressing ethical questions regarding AI differs a lot between industries, of course. If you look at, for example, the healthcare industry, the media industry, or makers of autonomous cars, they face very different challenges than the retail industry. And the retail industry's challenges might even seem trivial in comparison. I mean, after all, we're just selling things. So why do we need to care about AI and ethics? And I think the simple answer is exactly that, because we care. If you care about your customers, your employees, and the world around you, you can't ignore this topic. But let me also borrow some arguments from a Gartner report about the urgent need for digital ethics. Trust in business is at an all-time low today. And the risk of not monitoring technology for unintended consequences could lead to public embarrassment and scandals, harm people's privacy, health, or lives, and can have an adverse effect on the business in terms of reputation or shareholder value. While the benefits of taking a clear stand can differentiate your company from the competition and result in higher customer satisfaction. As technology is often developing faster than legislation, it's not enough just to follow the law. AI opens up so many new possibilities, but that we can do something doesn't mean that we should do it. And the discussion has to go from are we compliant to are we doing the right thing. I joined H&M Group last fall as head of AI policy in the Advanced Analytics and AI department. And at that point, our AI projects were already covering the whole value chain, from design to customer experience. We are using AI to better forecast trends and predict demand, to create the right assortment for our different stores, to optimize prices during sales, both online and offline, and to give our customers more relevant recommendations and offers. And my job is to lead our work on sustainable and ethical AI, creating frameworks and practical tools for this area. So, with a task like that, where do you start? Responsible AI may be a new area to H&M Group, but sustainability is not. Globally, we have 270 people working with sustainability, which makes it one of the largest sustainability organizations in the retail industry. Sustainability is core to the company's identity. However, our sustainability department, like many sustainability departments, was created in an analog world, and our focus has been mainly on the environment and on working conditions in our supply chain. So how do you translate the existing policies and visions to an AI context? On a very high level, we want to use AI to reach our sustainability goals, such as only using recycled or sustainably sourced materials by 2030 and having a climate-positive value chain by 2040. And we can already now see that our AI projects are having a great impact when it comes to reducing CO2 emissions. Because with the help of AI, we can become much sharper in aligning supply and demand, which, for example, leads to less transports and warehousing. And secondly, we want to work with AI in a responsible way, which means actively working to avoid causing any unintentional harm when using AI solutions. One of the first things we did was to create a checklist that is now used by all our ongoing and new AI projects. And it's centered around 9 areas that we think are crucial for responsible AI. All our projects should be focused, beneficial, fair, transparent, governed, collaborative, reliable, respecting privacy, and secure. This checklist is a 2-page document. It's with around 30 questions. It's long enough to cover the most important parts and short enough to be easy and practical to use. And to give a few examples, our questions cover, for example, topics like algorithmic bias, diversity in our AI teams, to purely technical questions around security. And many questions are phrased in an open way, so it's not that much about ticking boxes, but more about starting a conversation. So, for example, instead of asking, does the use case have a negative effect on any vulnerable groups, we ask, have you discussed how the use case affects vulnerable groups? And it's just a tiny difference in wording, but I believe it forces you to think in another way, and you actually need to have that discussion. So my goal is to make the ethical questions top of mind for anyone working with AI. And I think one of the key methods to achieve that is to get people talking about it. But a discussion about AI and ethics can become very abstract. So to make the topic more tangible and easier to relate to, we tried something. Using the power of storytelling, we created the Ethical AI Debate Club. So we invited people from different parts of the company, from different departments, with different professional backgrounds, to meet up for a debate. And we wrote fictional ethical dilemmas that could potentially take place in the fashion industry today or in the near future, like mini science fiction stories. And we have also done this debate club at external events. Here we are in Berlin at an event called the Changemakers Lab this spring, where we included customers, AI researchers, and also other fashion industry executives. And during these debates, people have to argue for a pre-assigned standpoint. And it might not be their personal opinion, but that's part of the exercise to actually force yourself to find arguments, even if you don't personally agree with them. So let me give you a flavor of it. This was one of the first stories I wrote. I had this idea about people starting to fall in love with a very charming voice assistant.
Your company's latest voice assistant, Mauricio, has been a huge success. Sales have increased significantly since you introduced him. His voice is smooth, seductive some would say. His manners charming, and he gives the customers excellent personalized service. He knows quite a few personal details about them, based on the large amount of data you have collected with their consent. but the conversation never feels intrusive. He is well versed in fashion history, delivers the most amusing and interesting anecdotes about the clothes that your customers are looking at. After a few months you notice that they have started to discuss other things than clothes with him. Life, love, lust. People are sharing their innermost secrets. He is such a good listener. And you are getting amazing data on customer behavior. Many of your customers are teenagers. Do you continue to use Mauricio?
So we had really heated debates about this dilemma. Yes, the customers have given their consent, but they are teenagers. Do they really know what they signed up for?
Come on, lady. They are digital natives. Of course they did. Don't underestimate them. And, you know, I am not that different from other voice assistants or chatbots. Just much more charming. I make people feel good about themselves.
But you were supposed to give them fashion advice, not be their therapist. And what about the risk of hacking?
Your secrets are safer with me than with your hairdresser.
Well. So we let people debate like this, and after around 7 minutes of pro and con arguments, we let the audience vote. And for most of our dilemmas, there was really no consensus after the debate, no winning standpoint, which I think shows how difficult these questions can be. And the goal with the debate club is not to solve the dilemmas, it's to dive deeper into the topics and to challenge your initial gut feeling. And in many cases, also to tackle conflicting values. Like, for example, if you have to choose between social and environmental sustainability, as in this story.
It is 2025 and sewing robots are just as good as humans at producing clothes. A majority of fashion companies now have fully automated factories in all selling markets with significantly reduced transports as a result. Following the last year's intensified debate on climate change, many environmentally aware customers embrace this shift. Producing closer to the customer also means that lead times have gotten shorter and customized on-demand production of clothes is common. However, another consequence of this rapid transformation is mass unemployment amongst previous garment workers, mainly young women in Southeast Asia. A global, feminist anti-automation movement has shaped in protest. As a both environmentally and socially aware customer living in a European country, you are torn between the choices on the fashion market. How do you spend your money if you want to do good? Do you buy local or global?
Discussions about ethical dilemmas give you the opportunity to really think through your values, which I think is a healthy exercise for any company, organization, or person. And by practicing on fictional scenarios like this, we can also sharpen our standpoint and ultimately avoid making mistakes in the real world. As you noticed, the question in the last dilemma is not about what a company should do in this situation. The decision concerns you as a customer. Do you buy local or global? Looking at this very complex future scenario from a customer's perspective was not just about giving the story another twist. It was also a way to highlight that the AI development is affecting us in many of our different roles, not only as business decision makers, but also as customers, as employees, and as citizens. In one way or another, we're all part of the development in AI, and I believe we have a shared responsibility in getting it right. AI is not a force of its own. So we need to work together to involve more people in the discussions around AI and ethics. If responsible AI is the question of our time, we also need to make it the conversation of our time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the 9 principles of AI in H&M. So she was talking about focused, beneficial, fair, transparent, governed, collaborative, reliable, respecting human agency, and secure. Right. So these are the 9 principles that she talked about. All right. So the last video on the AI case study is Accenture. So we talk about the inclusive and diversity strategy, how they are building systems within Accenture for powering inclusion diversity in their I&D framework. Let's hear that.
Introducing
Interesting question isn't necessarily will robots be taking our jobs, but will robots be sharing our values? And we see employees questioning, how their companies and what their companies are building AI for. But what's your, do you have concerns about whether the AI that we're building will share human values?
Yeah, no, the way I look at it is technology is neutral. AI is neutral. We don't have to worry about AI taking over. The
but
question
humans
is,
build technology.
Yeah, the question is what do we as humans do with it? And there are new things we have to think about with how we apply technology. That's why when we look at artificial intelligence, we talk about something called responsible AI, which is how do you deploy AI to make sure it is living the values that we want to live and it's fulfilling the outcomes and objectives you have as an organization. So for us, that means looking at things like the accountability for the algorithms, the transparency and explainability, fairness and making sure it's not biased, in terms of how it's deployed, honesty, and a human-centric approach. And if you follow those values, we believe you can apply AI for the right outcomes.
So what's your take on some of these controversies and companies that, to be fair, employ tens of thousands of people? Like, who's to say who they sell the technology to and who they don't?
Yeah, I think the way we look at it in our business is our mission is to help clients apply innovations that they can transform and run their business more effectively, serve their consumers more effectively. And we see a wide variety of how to do that across all industries and across the public sector, working with governments as well. So we look at it carefully. We actually have a process internally that we look at with our responsible AI principles of how we work and what kinds of programs we do, and we apply that to the way in which we create these outcomes for clients. And in doing so, we think you can both have your principles around AI and make sure that we're applying it with companies to design the right kinds of outcomes.
Now, there's also talk about how whether AI has hit a wall. It's supposed to be so smart, so transformative, and yet still make some stupid decisions.
No, well, the thing to understand about AI is not a human. It doesn't have human-level capability. It can do some very specific tasks that humans can do very well. It can recognize patterns. It can play games and things, but it can't be a human at this stage.
Are humans overhyping it?
I think it's overhyped a bit right now in terms of the human, the AI becoming human, but it's not overhyped in terms of the business potential. We believe AI has tremendous business potential. It's the fastest growing technology we've seen since I've been at Accenture 32 years, leading a lot of our technology waves. The fastest growing technology we've seen in that time, faster than cloud, mobility, internet, e-commerce in the initial wave. And that's measured by 19,000 people we have working in, technologists working in artificial intelligence for clients.
Is China ahead of the U.S. in AI in the short term and the long term?
You have to parse that question apart. China has a very clear articulated strategy in terms of education, the workforce, data, and the technology of what they're doing, and that's setting them on a path that accelerating their progress to, I think they're in good shape for their goal of achieving leadership by 2025 and then by 2030 according to their plan. The U.S. has a lot of advantages. I'd say we're ahead right now in terms of research and development and application of AI. Europe is kind of working on their position with respect to AI. What I say in response to all that, it's too early to say who's really the winner. There's going to be hundreds and thousands of winners in the business adoption of AI across every industry sector, and the challenge for every company is figure out where you focus to create your advantage in the market.
I recently saw a story about Chinese researchers creating an AI news anchor. So, is my job safe?
I don't know. Is this the real Emily I'm talking to? I'm not sure. I think that it's an interesting example that they developed. But and we see that in many professions, in journalism, in medicine. The initial AI personas. It's going to be a long, long time before AI can replace what you do, which is understanding what's of interest to humans. How do you ask me the right questions to really get at the heart and context around the issues that we all face? And that's really what we have to focus on: is how do we accentuate the human capability of people and make sure that we are using technology to make us more human as a result. That's what we believe the real outcome of AI is.
So Accenture, 450,000 employees.
Yeah, over 450,000 employees.
Half of them are tech.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
We're a technology company. We're the largest technology services firm in the world. Applying innovation, developing innovative solutions to help our clients, do their business more effectively. And the largest part of our workforce is those who do coding, computer science, technology for clients.
So that's a huge sample size. What sort of trends are you seeing when it comes to women and underrepresented minorities in the tech portion of your business? Are you seeing improvements or not?
Yeah, it's a huge focus for us. We're big believers in an inclusive workforce, and we've set a goal to be 50-50, have 50-50 gender balance in our workforce by 2025. Well on the way to that goal at 40+%, starting where we are today and making good progress. And it's a big personal issue for me. I'm on the board of directors of Girls Who Code and support many other organizations, because fundamentally we believe with the world we're moving into, technology is part of changing our human experience and changing every aspect of our lives. And if we don't have an inclusive workforce at the heart of designing our future and building our future, it's not going to be the future we want. So that's why we're committed as an organization to true inclusion and diversity in our workforce and supporting that across tech any way we can.
Immagina di poter creare qualsiasi cosa
So that's on the Accenture use case. So similarly, there are 3 use cases which talks about on the responsible AI. Some of them are failure example in bias hiring. So it's from Illinois AI Video Interview Act. So it's in YouTube. The second one is Microsoft governance. This Office of Responsible AI enforces values of committees. So it's a good video as well to watch. And IBM Watson for oncology, which analyzes medical data for personalization cancer treatments, which improves patients centric care globally and accuracy for diagnostic. Right, some of the use cases which are available online. Let's talk about implementation step. So when we build an AI system, first and the foremost thing is adopt a human-centered design. That's very, very vital. The second one is audit the data set for bias. Ensure you collect all possible variety of data when you train the system. The third one is continuous monitoring post-deployment. So see when the model is on the field, you will be looking at the real-time data, real-world data. See if your model works perfectly fine with all the desired outcomes. You need to monitor the efficiency as well. And the heart and the soul part of it is embed governance. That's very, very important to be compliant. And the governance, so it's via trainings and audits where you can embed governance. For example, there are internal audits coming within the organization. There are external audits, which also audits the IT systems. So these are all some of the implementation steps. So what are the benefits that we observe when we build such system is innovation of products, we increase the competitiveness of the company, which ultimately increases the profit, of course. It also minimizes the risk and efficient goal alignment on the top strategic objectives. So with that, we finish our second module. There is one question which came out. Can you suggest textbook which refer on Gen AI? Again, you need to be very specific here. Gen AI on responsible AI, Gen AI using technology. So if you can tell me what are you looking at, I can recommend such books. More or less, some of the Gen AI topics and concepts are covered by Microsoft, Databricks, Google, for example. There are a lot of these courses available. But if you need a book like an old school, I can suggest that as well. Let's look at global regulations in the next 14 minutes. First of all, let's ask why regulations is required in AI. So in order to ensure that it is mainly to address biases, that we do not build a system which is biased, privacy breaches, like deepfakes, for example. So that is considered as a risk-based approach, right? And also transition to regulations, cases how there are global rules to scale. Like for instance, there are discussions happening right now. We talk about global tariff. They call data as a next oil. Imagine if all your data is in US, for example, being processed, there is no sovereignty in data and all your system are software as a service enabled. Tomorrow, the sanctions might happen within minutes. If US says, I'm not planning to give your data, the system is not enabled. Let's say Microsoft says, I will not service for India because of some trade regulations. He will shut down all its services. And assuming there are big companies, imagine all the systems are available in their data center in US. Just give a thought. It's a complete shutdown and it'll be done within minutes and seconds. I can just close down your data center or your racks where I will not provision any data. The system goes for a halt, right? If you look at some time ago, there was a outages in identity management in Azure. the entire all the major airports was affected. So this is an example how regulations is required, and so this is very important aspects. So, for example, EU Act in 2023, it talks about it came into enforcement in 2024. Now it's being rolled out to all 28 European countries. So basically, it talks about risk tiers, where unacceptable, high, limited, minimal are the classifications. If it's unacceptable, means like banned, for example, social scoring. High means audit is required. Limited means transparency. Minimal is at least you need to have an AI board within the company. So it kind of regulates what every company within the country has to do in order to amend the or follow the EU AI Act. So this is a slide which shows comparison of the approach and the key focus areas of the responsible AI or the regulations comparison. In Europe, the approach is mainly risk-based and it's horizontal approach. There is a key focus employed on human rights, bans on high-risk use of social scoring. In fact, after Australia banning teenagers' social media access, Germany and few more countries in Europe are considering, even Czech Republic is considering to ban social media apps for 15-year-old. If you've seen in the recent past, Google has implemented, for example, all the kids account has to be parental enabled. So that's a kind of an enforcement which comes in, right? So all your kids account, if they have sometime, if they give a wrong date of birth, they see that they are 18, but if you're 18, you need to upload a credit card or a photo ID. So the company validates every single account. So you cannot bypass or go away having kids having an account without a parental consent, right? These are some of the examples of regulation implementations. US, on the contrary, is ad hoc, sector specific. It is state specific. Its main focus on innovations, privacy, right? If you're in the initial phases of your AI revolution, if you put the guardrails, all the security rules, it kills the innovation, right? So it's a kind of a sector-based approach. While China, it's vertically led, state-led. They have an AI strategy for 2030. So that's why when you look at US and comparing to China, and also when you look at Davos conference, there are 5 pillars within AI established. So one of the pillar is power, which means that you need to have a power surplus within the country to have AI data centers. US, on the other hand, if you look at Microsoft, Satya Nadella said, I have NVIDIA chips available sitting in my warehouses. I cannot plug it in because we are running no capacity on our data centers. We need to build new data centers. It requires a lot of power. That's why Google is trying out the new data centers in space, while Microsoft is trying nuclear-based data centers under sea, for example, right? So India, on the other hand, we have something called the Advisory DPDP Act, which came in 2023. The data privacy is more of processing personal data, or called PII, personal information identity. It's evolving. It's in the initial stages. So when I compare Europe against India, pretty much India is in the beginning edge of the data privacy protection. While other Asian countries like Singapore, Japan, it's a more of layered approach framework. They have Singapore model has AI governance, which is sovereignty, keep the data inside Singapore. Japan uses AI principles that emphasizes on fairness, transparency for each data use case. For example, in China, if there is an AI generated video which floats around, let's say any social media, you need to label it. That's an example of regulatory within China on AI enabled videos, for example, just to prevent deepfakes. US, as we see, there is no federal law. Example, Illinois has its own law, New York has its own law, California has its own law. So each state has its own law. The state privacy addresses the automatic decision to opt out. There were a few bills which was passed. One from Biden in 2022, which is AI Bill of Rights, offers voluntary ethical guidelines. Then in 2025, there is an AI action plan which pushes the deregulations, blocks funding to restrictive states, and promotes innovations over ethic-focused rules. That's from the Trump. We looked at EU Act in the slide 1. So here, right, in the EU approach, we have 28 countries. So Germany follows very strict GDPR Act, but if you look at the new countries joining EU, Bulgaria, for example, Romania, they have to work a lot to implement the EU Act regulations, right? So each state has their own phase, but they have a timeline to implement. China, I have already covered. Let's look at India. So India specific, you have the DPDP Act from 2023, right? India lacks codified law regulations in targeting AI. That's number one. It's relying instead on national framework, not on a sector-specific areas like finance or health. We do not have any dedicated AI legislations, for instance. The Digital Act of 2023 is in a draft state, still regulating a high-risk AI in prohibiting certain use cases and consumer apps. So it's still in a very baby state. For example, there are key strategies and principles. We have a national strategy for AI, which emphasizes on responsible AI, which protects ethics, privacy, and security. And then we have principles on responsible AI outline board. As we speak, even India AI conference is happening in Delhi, I think. So there are AI broad guidelines for ethical management adaptable. And if you look at regulatory bodies, there are two ministries. One Ministry of Electronics and Information, which leads the AI strategy for policies. Then we have the Commerce and the Industry, which has the AI task force, aims to build the future regulatory authority, right? And maximum, if you see, the penalties are there, and most of the company focus on innovation, so it balances the risk in high impact areas, and with the ongoing development is expected. Unlike when I compare to GDPR in Europe, in Germany, right? With that, we finish the modules. I will open to Q&A session. We have 4 minutes. Yeah, I will share. I think Kamana will send the entire PPT deck. So the slides are shared with the links.
You can share with me your PPT. I'll share it with the group.
Yeah, sure, Kam.
So Maruji will share the PPTs with you. All the PPTs will be shared. Few I've already shared. The rest I'll share. Any questions? So I think everyone understood what you were explaining.
Well, it's not rocket science. Actually, I should thank 276 participants, or 277, to spend time and bringing it to your students. So that's very important. Thanks for spending your precious time and understanding AI. It's very important. So the future, if you look at Claude 4.6, there are talks that the entire software engineering will change between 6 to 12 months, and it's quite scary. So now you don't need to be brilliant to work on the software engineering skills. You just need to know how to do prompting. Yeah, people talk about normalized incomes. People talk about normalized intelligence. So it is important to know how to use AI. That's very, very vital. So thanks for spending your time.
Yeah, it is like, what is your one, if you would say one thing, one tip?
One tip is learn, I mean, always keep learning. Even if AI comes,
Just
problem
give me a
solving skill
minute.
set is very important. Yeah. Yeah, theory and practice both are required. True.
Sorry for that. Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying one tip?
So what AI can replace is one is the problem solving, problem framing the problem. So that's important. I think right now even that can be replaced, but at this point in time, because there's a whole thing. So only one tip is keep always learning. Look how you can increase your productivity through AI. That's all I can. If one tip is there, yeah,
Right, right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Dr.
sure.
Pramod. I really appreciate that you are also taking out time from your schedule to address us. I think this is the last batch,
Yeah,
and uh, you can share the documents with me, like your
sure, sure.
invoice and everything. Also, just share everything so that because I'll be
Thank,
working on that after this. And with
sure.
that,
Thanks.
I'll let you go and I'll welcome
Sure.
Dr. Gopal Tadapalli, who is joining us from Hyderabad, from Mahindra University,
Yes,
right?
Hyderabad.
Yes, sir has been, sir is retired from Anna University and now he has joined Mahindra University. So, sir, how is the experience? If you can tell us what is the difference between Anna University and what is the difference between the two places?
Easy to settle down as far the teaching is concerned, and nothing much has been experienced outside of teaching. Teaching a
Okay.
foundation course. So for undergrads from various disciplines, multiple disciplines.
Okay.
So what I got is a good survey participation from the ACM on
Mm-hmm.
working out for undergrads from various disciplines. Good
Mm-hmm.
experience. So far, that's a good experience. No strong brush with any other exercise outside of teaching, so that's fine.
Lovely, lovely. I'll just
And
take up a couple of questions which are for me. Paresh Chavra is asking if we successfully clear assessment on FSP. No, if you clear the assessment, you will get Atal certificate. If you need NASCOM certificate, you have to complete the course. So I hope that's clear. Assessment is on Future Skills Prime. You clear it, you get Atal certificate. If you complete the course, then you get the NASCOM certificate. So with that, I'll hand it over to Dr. Gopal for his session.
good
So you can
evening.
just little
Yes,
bit, you need to,
slant the screen.
yes, so that we can see your face.
Agreed. Now let me do that. I
Yes.
thought it was fine enough. Anyway, you are the best judge.
Yes, so now
So
it's better.
let me just share the screen.
Yeah.
See if it is happening at your end.
Yes, it's
Thank you
coming.
so much.
It has come,
Now,
and you can go full screen.
yes, I'm going full screen
Lovely. Done.
on this. It's done?
Yes, it's done.
Okay. So thank you very much and good evening. Nice again to listen to my other speaker who spoke just before me. As a matter of fact, I gleaned a few points from him in the last iteration. So now I am also putting forward 3 case studies, as is the case with my earlier speaker. The first one, we have a borderline concern, that is the school students, youngsters. A very good opinion published this month in the communications of the ACM. And I'm a member of ACM India for quite some time, so many years. Takes a village to teach privacy. It's a very nice opinion article, Rethinking Privacy Literacy for the Younger Generation. I'm also on a IEEE data standards group, which is exploring this idea of deliberating explicitly on privacy at many levels. This article is striking. The authors nicely report, our research has found that children as young as 6 years can articulate concerns about privacy, but their understanding is often superficial. Our work also indicates parents describe privacy conversations at home as mostly rule-based. That is, strict do's and don'ts. Don't share, don't talk, don't do these things. So, based on a very nice study made by the authors and published this month, a few weeks back, early February, it was published. And as I mentioned to Kamna, it was my pleasure participating in a survey that landed in my inbox in my new office from the ACM, asking me about my experiences teaching the undergrads from all disciplines. Here, there are many disciplines, teaching a large class. So that's how it is. They came up with some very good recommendations: co-design materials across settings. Privacy education tools should be designed with input from families, teachers, and community stakeholders. It's feasible. But the watchword here is design. We should know how to anticipate. We are developing course materials. There's no second opinion about it. Many things are happening. Many things are brought from online. We are welcoming people to go and refer to links which are available. They can study. A lot of study materials are there. But then we need to design that. It's absolutely important because of the fact that they have to get focused primarily on the content of the syllabus and not anything else. So that's the exercise which we as teachers must do it as our basic responsibility. AI is fetching a lot of things. ChatGPT is fetching so many things. Embed teachable movements in everyday tech use. Classroom apps, learning platforms should include prompts or visual cues that help children pause and think. It's all the more important now as the lecture progresses. All of us would concur that it's all the more important to really leave a few minutes, embed teachable movements that they have to think, do nothing, probing. What is necessary to understand is much before these machineries have swamped the entire world, the simple question that began all this exercise of AI and computing is, can machines think? Posed by Alan Turing. So we should make those thinking faculties shine amongst our students. Therefore, we have to design carefully to include some thinking points. Create longitudinal privacy learning pathways. Privacy decisions do not happen in one moment. We are not at all judgmental. They will have to go through a trace. Good coders always leave a long trace. And therefore, we need to have matters related to privacy become a bit durable over a longer time, a long term. Nothing judgmental, no conclusion. Recommendation 4. Support families as co-teachers. Provide parents with low barrier groups. It is happening, at least in the outcome-based education. We are bringing in that multi-stakeholder concept. I'm also actively with the National Board of Accreditation. The outcome-based education is bringing in some way of managing, measuring the attainment with the inclusion of parents. Every visit, we make it a point that the team runs into the parents, employees. A small component of multi-stakeholder is becoming very unique with the procedures and processes adopted by the National Board of Accreditation. Leverage, it is possible, it's feasible. Even now, it's feasible. It's institutional decision as to how much percentage they would want to give, but all these are feasible. We will have to do that. Leverage community events, activities, and events with a privacy theme in libraries, science centers. We should not be fighting away on this privacy scheme, privacy-related matters, but they should become as subtle and as non-invasive as possible. That's where we need a design. It's a good case study. We are talking about it. The responsibility on us as teachers, as institutions, is nicely highlighted through this one word, privacy, which was a non-issue, which remains a non-issue. In many cases, we have good schools, good people. The bona fides in conduct are absolutely brilliant at all levels. And therefore, it's a non-issue in many cases. But then what is the bothersome factor? What is out of our hands and into the machinery is simply out of our hands. It's just that feeling that we don't have much of a control on our own system is the nagging feeling. And that's where we need to design to make all these things happen. Just a little more attention on what is it that we are pumping in and what is it that we are imploring our students to explore online to learn. It's learner centricism. We're not going to be proved when we are investing into futures, but we need to also be cautious in designing what we are pushing them into. There are all kinds of networks, all kinds of content, all kinds of networking concerns that we have. Suddenly something breaks out and we need to be alert and then make sure that it's plugged. Takes time. I had one bitter experience close to 2000s. It is something which a couple of people were spared for managing how to plug what is not considered good that is creeping into our networks. Took some time, took some iterations. It still haunts all of us. It's a possibility that haunts. It's not such a good experience to make the professionals just log into something which they simply cannot accept. Next case study, I did mention this earlier, document review. How expensive is legal document review? In the US, it's very expensive. Of all the money spent on litigation across the US annually, we keep quipping what is the need to go to a court. A fellow who wins comes home and cries. A fellow who loses cries in the court. But what is the standing guarantee? Both the parties have documented their concerns, their problems, where things are getting into their lives, encroaching them to a point where we need an arbiter, we need a judgment on it. 70% of it is spent on discovery, 70% of the discovery spent goes to the document review. We have to discover, the court also has to sit down, arbitration. More importantly, 95% of civil cases settle. They don't really want to go through the full trial. Somewhere in the middle, they settle off court. Enough clarity has come, enough concern on documentation has happened, and therefore we are quite safe. At this point in time, we'll break off. We don't want to proceed further. If in future something happens, we have a civilized way of starting. As we keep telling, if we don't document, the top man, the Adam, will be crucified. It's something which we have been parroting out several times. In the US, the laws are more stringent. So much of money is being spent on document review. And who is responsible for this? It's a collective responsibility because the purpose is becoming obvious. 95% of the court cases will settle down somewhere as a trial. Off-court settlements, they are also encouraging off-court settlements. A lot of reforms have happened in many ways. But then the fact remains that money is being spent. Where, who is responsible is the question. So the entire procedures in the justice system have gone into predictive coding, technology assisted to human assisted. Can you predict what is it going to happen? Can you give weightages? What is likely to happen? The dynamics are like this. The documents are like this. Well, we give it right now. We are not going to have too much of AI-based exercises, but it's feasible. It's feasible. A lot of cases are going on. At one point, early 2000s, we had to get the physical copies of the judgment, however longish the judgment is, and then try to make an abstract précis. Can we have an automatic tool to give abstract? And medical, yes. Medical abstracts were flying out even way back in 1988. I was assisting two very eminent medical professionals, Dr. Arjun Rajgopalan, Dr. K. Ganapati. Both of them have been well recognized in the profession of medical practice. They used to come on a spare time. They have some limited spare time over the weekends, take some medical publications that used to reach my office because it's affiliated to International Council for Scientific Unions. They used to sit down and then write everything as an abstract, a précis, what it is. Medicine has welcomed it. They like to get those case studies. Here, we want to delay a few things. That the medical needs it faster, much faster. The legal and the other class pedagogy is always turtle pace. We should be slow enough. We cannot deny that. So certain things are slow, certain things are fast. So the same tool has to have a dual pace. That's the point that I want to make. The same tool can be applied for medical, technology assisted, human assisted, but in the medical it should be faster. In the legal, it should go through a slower process. So attorneys will have to judge these spaces. Sometimes it has to be fast, sometimes it has to be slow. The machine is not likely to read or understand the words used, yet it can find related documents with remarkable accuracy. More importantly, more concerning, I didn't know how my earlier speaker touched upon this point. He was mentioning that in the next 6 months, the entire way of developing software is going to change. That's what I am also hearing. It's all set to change. The way we work with software, the way we view software will have to change. And without consulting him, I put this slide, the software developer shortage by numbers. Globally, 85.2 million shortage is expected by 2030. US alone is expecting 1.2 millions by 2026. Economic impact by 2026, loss of $5.5 trillion. The AI for coding, 48%. AI for testing, 47%. These are deficit. We are running short of them. This was true in the US markets when India embarked on the globalization idea, and IT is one industry that stood up. NASSCOM must be congratulated for making that spell happen in a most productive manner, identifying the pioneers, encouraging the pioneers, and making them happen. So what is necessary to understand is the shortage of software developers was found, and it was Mr. Kohli and others who projected India as something that is so fantastic in the power of abstraction, working with abstractions. It opened up global markets. This was when early 90s, when India first started understanding this phenomena called globalization. So I'm not too sure how the current US scenario is understanding the shortage. They are putting tariffs, they are putting a lot of things, and the whole US works on software. If for a minute the software failure happens, we don't know what it is. The risk is too much. Anyway, recommended practices, we cannot blame technology. It's an irrational search for scapegoats. A duty. What is responsibility? Responsibility is a duty to deal with something so that it is your fault if something goes wrong. When everything goes right, it's fine. When something goes wrong, we will have to take it upon ourselves. There's no point blaming the technology. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow, and we are all facing tomorrow. Today we are learning this. Today we are studying. I am thankful to NASSCOM for giving me this opportunity to put together all these thoughts, listen to some of my eminent professional friends sometimes when possible, pick up on the YouTube. So it is nice. I must thank them for the opportunity. The 16th President of the United States, we are seeing tomorrow, right now. And tomorrow is all in front of us, youngsters in the classes. What are they heading into? They are heading into digital citizenship right away. We are imploring them. At one point in time, unless I had a passport, the notion of citizenship was not so strong. But now, all of them, we are imploring them. We are pushing them into the tools. They have to get online. Technology is there. We cannot wish it away. Today also, we cannot wish it away. Now also, we cannot wish it away. We are experiencing that. So what we are pushing all the students, first step, digital citizenship, is the ability to participate safely, ethically and responsibly in the digital world. This involves not only having access to technology, but also knowing how to use it to contribute positively to society. And that no is not a small font. It's not a 10-point or a 12-point Arial font. It's big no. We should know what it is. Absolutely necessary. The responsible use of technology can be defined as the conscious, ethical, and effective use of digital tools to maximize their benefits and minimize their risks. This includes not only how much time we spend in front of a screen, but also how we decide to interact, share information. We are taking decisions. Students, youngsters, everybody is empowered to use the machine, make choices. We are making choices, dime a dozen in one classroom interaction, which includes technology. Share information and participate in virtual communities. Responsible is not necessarily for assignments. By the way, you give them an assignment, next 5 minutes, the solution comes from somewhere in the net. But what we are imploring them to take up is digital citizenship. Responsible technology involves balancing access of innovation with respect to human values and ethical standards. That kind of a support on what they cannot have a grasp on is what we need to do. For that, the only solution, think. Think expanded as, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If we can have this think in mind, THINK, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Before I throw it out. Social media is a very nice platform. They are enthused. People are very much into the loop. They are really wanting to do something. All that is fine. Social media is picked up because of that example. They're always there connected. Every minute they are sending some message. If nothing else, a 10-page PDF is coming every 1 hour about something that's happening in a classroom. So what we need to tell them, implore them is, while we want them to enjoy, while we want them to become digital citizens, we need to make them understand that is a think. Is it true? Is it helpful? Can we create such moments in our classrooms? Can we design in such a manner that it's not merely giving the links, that's the next step. It should be more collaborative in nature. It must be more community building in its approach, a global community. How does it happen? We have to build trust. We have to learn from failures. We cannot keep on precipitating the errors. We have to minimize the errors in the learning phase. Most of us do it as trial and error. Most of us learn as trial and error. We have to empower. That's what we are doing. We are empowering. But then are we having adequate design guidelines, design principles, ethical behavior, resolving conflicts? There are conflicts we need to resolve because of the sheer nature of how technology is connecting each other. Personal growth, problem solving, we are never opposed to personal growth. We implore people to do that, work and grow. Therefore, what is the concern here? The think like this is directly bringing us to where and how the responsibility is meaning to us as people, as teachers, as students, as whatever we are talking about. The entire stakeholders in this exercise means what? Responsibility and decision making. Responsibility is often considered synonymous with decision making because taking responsibility means owning the outcomes, both positive and negative, that result from a choice. We are learning mathematically something called a discrete mathematics. When a dice is rolled, the dice is having 6 faces. When a dice is rolled, our mathematical modeling simply tells which is the face that is right on the top. We go ahead with it. It does not mean the other 5 faces of the dice are not there. They don't make any impact. The notion of discreteness with which we have been talking, discrete events, is something which we need to understand. And we need to make sure that responsibility lies with student. Is very happy. We are telling him, you look at the face that is right on the top and go ahead. But what are we doing? We'll have to build the other 5 faces which are not really so dominant, not high probability. The one who decides pays principle. There are 6 choices in summary. The one who decides pays principles. If an individual has the power to make a decision, they must also bear the downside or risk associated with that decision. And they will have to. The students of tomorrow in the digital space, the digital citizenship implores them that they should be confident about making those choices and going ahead, building further on these choices, owning up the responsibility of both positives and negatives on themselves first. So we want them to work in groups. The groups need not be out here. They are into some groups. They are enjoying. They are happy about it. They're all participating in many groups, individual decision-making, group decision-making. This is known theory, but then how does technology impact it all is our study. Decisions by management level. So we have perforce categorize the decisions, top level strategic decisions, tactical decisions, operational decisions. So we'll have to be very clear how the choices are trickling into the system. At what level, who is taking the decision? The entire exercise is to reflect something about the hierarchy. Something as we progress, we would also see what is it that we need to do on that. But there is no escape because of the aforesaid reasons that responsibility is often considered synonymous with decision making. We cannot blame technology. Technology is also making choices, the networking, the way it is going. The common joke that was there in the early 90s, if I want to send a mail from here to the next room, the mail may travel all over the world and reach the next room. A lot of connections, a lot of networks are sensing this mail, but that's how the networking works. So therefore, we keep taking the same point over and over again, not harping on it, but responsibility is always considered synonymous with decision making. How many ever decisions the technology is taking, the human in the loop, one who decides, is eventually necessary. We talked about open source. What is the concern in open source? There is no strong ownership. The owner is not defined. If it is commercial, we know whom to catch if something is not working the next 1 minute. In the open source, it's all diffused. So we have a strong feeling, a strong sense of having an ownership earmarked before we do anything in a globally operating software or whatever it is. So you see, please understand that we need to prepare people for that digital citizenship. Most of the laboratories are on open source. Most of the laboratories, almost all, everything is running on open source. So where is that ownership coming? So it's open source. It doesn't mean anything to me. It has to be understood. We need to have time spent on those open source, open systems. So many years back, it was just about beginning to happen. Today, it's a fascinating situation that everywhere I go, it's all around open source. Everything is built, but are we spending time on that? How do we know? We have to go to the source code. We have to look into it. We have an agreement in principle. The question is, do we all have the same principles? So we have been talking about principles, concepts, guidelines, standards. So many things have come. All those things will now walk into your classrooms. They should, because everything is revolving on what is called pieces of software, when the shortage of software engineers is felt so acutely. nearly 50% shortage. Again, I'm not going by those numbers exactly. The observation is there definitely exists a shortage of software engineers. And I underscore on what my predecessor speaker was mentioning, the entire software engineering and development is likely to go through a sea change. Herbert Simon, 1978 Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences, a Nobel laureate, revolutionized decision-making theory by arguing that administration is synonymous with decision-making. So now you see, we brought the administration into the loop. It was individuals, it was decision based on choices. Now the administration is synonymous with decision making at all levels. So the administration ought to become a bit more strategic. 3 levels, we have identified 3 categories. So strategic, tactical, operational. So we have our own ways of talking with my good colleagues who have been in management. They've been very, very senior, well noted, both in my own university as well as outside. Are we able to go any beyond tactical at all levels? Is a question that we have to ask for ourselves. We are operationally fine. Things are all still well defined. A surprise, but having a definition of a class, having a definition of a hierarchy, having a definition of a procedure, having a definition of a process are still relevant even today. In the change scenario that I am talking, smart boards, smartphones, out here my students simply mark the attendance by looking up the QR code, which I myself will generate and display. So they're all on the mobiles, they're all quick. How much of networking is happening is so obvious. It doesn't take so much of a theory. So bounded rationality, Simon proposed that the rationality should be bounded. And in the same breath, we should understand that humans are not entirely rational due to the limited information, time, and cognitive capacity. Therefore, individuals cannot maximize outcomes. In the outcome-based exercise, we have always been indicating it's very difficult to maximize outcomes, but instead satisfactorily done. Everything is happening satisfactorily, the utmost satisfaction. Choosing the first option that meets minimum criteria, while the central algorithm, I'm sure all the other speakers have been talking about it, while the central concept of all AI-related and algorithmic approaches is maximize gains and minimize losses. We want to maximize outcomes, but then what's the bare minimal criteria? In simpler terms, if 35% is identified as the pass mark, why should somebody aim at 36% or 37%? What is the reason? That's where we are. The principle of bounded rationality wants all that to happen, but the flip side of it is it pushes more towards the bare minimal. Ticket. Did we satisfy the basic criteria? And then go ahead. That's all we are able to do most of the times. Herbert Simon noted that he's the Nobel laureate in economic sciences in 78. Herbert Simon noted that decisions involve a factual element, verifiable information, and value element, ethical, subjective. So instead of simply looking up the categorization, strategic, tactical, and operational, we should now bring in the administration to establish facts. The factual aspect must be there from the administration, focus on objective, factual, and enhance efficiency. This is something which we learned from his works. Simon's 3 activities, stages in decision-making: intelligence, search environment, for conditions, calling for loops. The loops are always there. What is the condition for? How many iterations? Otherwise, we can keep on repeating until anything, ad infinitum. if we are not moving towards maximizing outcomes, the entire idea of an algorithm centered around max and min is something which we have to bother about ourselves. Possible course of design. Design is something which is quintessence, the quintessence of the entire exercise. We need to understand that there should be the design, choice, select particular course. The choices make a difference. We are responsible for the choices. As I said, discrete is nice idea. It helps us manage how to move out of chaos at the earliest. Chaotic conditions will emerge. Discrete mathematics, discrete event doesn't allow them to cascade or build. But then what we are talking about, if we're tossing a coin, heads and tails, the head appears. Where is the tail? It's not vanished. It is still there. That's how we are building the overall system. A choice is made, let the person proceed. The administration, the system is there to support on these matters. Herbert Simon, he came up with an idea called programmed, non-programmed. Programmed are all operational. At the operational level, we build machinery. So therefore, we are not strategic. We don't have the wherewithal. We don't have the felt need to make it strategic. We are somewhere near that tactical space. Strategic, tactical, operational. Most of us are bordering between tactical and operational. The technology is there. AI is promising to make it strategic, provided the responsibility is understood. Is it responsible enough AI? That's the purpose of this talk, and we are lecture and we are going like that. The very first time when we said that there will be programmed decisions implemented using a computer, 78 computing was not so much dominant. But look at it, roughly around that time, the 70s, we have had a good paper from my professor C.R. Muthukrishnan and his professor V. Rajaraman, the conversion of decision tables to computer programs. The table is called decision table. And how do we automatically convert it into computer programs? So I will write a table nicely. This is how we decide in a tabular form. It can be made into a computer program. So decision table form and format. Give me a tabular structure which is indicative of how I make a decision. It can also become a computer program. The impact of complexity, decision-making authority must be distributed downwards to avoid paralysis. Naturally, we'll have to make a push towards the operational. Meanwhile, responsibility tends to travel up. This is especially true for shortcomings that are important to shareholders and a wider society. Decision-making, we think concepts. We are not thinking operations most of the time. Decision-making is often more collective than we assume, while responsibility is more individual. All these together mean accountability, responsibility is not necessarily the same as decision-making authority, depending on the context and circumstances. So we have slightly moved away. By embracing complexity, by celebrating complexity, we are shifting the focus more towards a complexity that is clearly positioning all these things that we spoke, accountability, responsibility. It is not merely vested with the decision-making authority, but we have to get the necessary context and circumstances it brings along. When we celebrate complexity, we are actively looking up for the context and circumstances. The machinery has always been thriving on context-free, quote unquote. But we have to bring in the context and circumstances. A much repeated anecdote, which we have been talking about, this came in as the MSNBC Technology Review, June 27, 2002. Why software is so bad? 2002, software was bad. We thought we have been improving it. Now software engineers are in shortage. 50% shortage, alarming shortage. What's being done to fix it is the question. It's one of the oldest jokes on the internet. I don't know how many times we have been talking about it. I can't even remember when was the first time when this joke was said. A software mogul makes a speech. If the automobile industry had developed like the software industry, we would all be driving $25 cars and get 1,000 miles to the gallon. An automobile executive retorts, yeah, and if cars were like software, they would crash twice a day for no reason. And when you called for service, they would tell you to reinstall the engine. It's almost happening. You have a scratch on your car, they'll tell you better sell the car and buy a new car, sir. The entire chassis is so much blended with electrical, electronic, and so many things are happening. Very intelligent car. If you have a scratch, you better sell the car as scrap and buy a new car. So it has become sort of a prophetic anecdote now. At that point in time, it was a joke. And later on, it's now proving to be prophetic. Questions and many more questions. Different types of software, consumer grade, military grade, safety critical, security critical, have time to market requirements, quality expectations, release criteria, lot of developments, lot of things have happened in the field of software ever since the software engineering as a domain got defined in 1968, the NATO conferences. Lot of definitions have come. So let's say this is something like, 60, 70 years will happen in next 2 years. 6 decades passed. But still, the nature of software is so daunting, so challenging, so intellectually stimulating that we need to think. These provide a limited measure about how a developer views good enough software. What is good enough? Are users generally willing to pay higher costs for higher integrity? Do software vendors assess if software is fit for purpose before release? All these were being done till recently. Now it's just there. Anything can happen. ChatGPT can code. Is there a chasm between user expectations? These are valid questions, but we are answering them in a completely different manner. Not the process, not something else. It's there, the tools are there. We'll see how it goes. How much of assurance is there? Oral history of Watts Humphrey, Computer History Museum, interviewed by Grady Booch, recorded in 2009. That's 7 years after this article was published. Why software is so bad? Watts Humphrey and Grady Booch got together on an oral history via Skype. Watts Humphrey was an American pioneer in software engineering who was called the father of software quality. In 2005, at a White House ceremony, the President of the United States awarded him the National Medal of Technology, the nation's highest order for technical achievement. Watts Humphrey remarked in this interview, this was actually a 2003 medal that was awarded in person in 2005. Very nice observation. He has a nice way of talking. I did have the fortune of meeting Watts Humphrey, and he has a nice way of talking. And he mentioned in this interview, hopefully you can locate the 2003 medal that was awarded in 2005. And remember, he was the father of software quality. The man who interviewed Grady Booch is no less a legend in the field, IBM fellow, ACM fellow, a World Technology Network fellow, a Software Development Forum visionary, a recipient of Dr. Dobbs Excellence in Programming Award, as well as 3 Jolt Awards. So there were 2 visionaries communicating in plain English via Skype. Appropriate technology is what we have to talk about. Before talking about responsibility, usable technology, we have to talk about appropriate technology, which was a term that ushered in the concept technology with a human face. The human face of technology was under study for the last 25 years. We wanted to give. But then where is it? Where is that human face coming from? It's a very good idea. Appropriate technology. Then comes the next level. Can technology be responsible? What began as a computer revolution with a simple question, can machines think? Now we are asking, what is appropriate technology? What is appropriate use of technology? Next level has come, responsibility. We have focused much on the human. Now for the technology. Can technology be responsible? What does responsibility actually look like in technology design, procurement, and implementation? Who is responsible for ensuring technology is ethical and just? How can we turn responsibility into real actionable steps? Again, step by step. I want responsibility also to happen in a manner where if you follow this step, without any doubt, you will be attested responsible. So the questions remain much the same. More questions will happen, but the way we are providing answers is completely different. Now, traditional technology, it's designed for efficiency, created in isolation, focuses on functionality. Ethical concerns will be addressed later, reactive to problems. Responsible technology, designed for equity and justice, developed with community input, focus on long-term impact, ethics baked in front from the start, proactively prevents harm. But this means we should not only understand technology and making technology penetrate the social systems, but the technology should be responsible enough to make that penetration into the social systems conform to a design for equity and justice. Are we able to bring those social ideas together? A few years back, some people, good professional friends of mine, began this idea called Indian Institute of Social Reform and Research in Calcutta, attempting to understand this. There is no choice. Technology has come. Technology has penetrated the society much faster than any one of us has ever thought. Even the makers of the technology did not think. And today, if we have to reach that scale and reach that rapidity of advancements in technology, we are banking on software. And after mathematics, only software has become so ubiquitous. And how do we design for equity and justice? And how to make the students understand that they are important now? Are we going to wake them up? What is equity and justice in a classroom? Outside the parametric evaluation? Fairness, the criteria, much the same. We are not likely to change all that. And we are still statistical in the way we are talking. What is it that we are trying to induce? Social obligations we understand. Social responsibility we understand. The third element in the exercise is social responsiveness. As the idea of decision-making percolates downward, I can see my students in front of me making choices left, right, and center, deciding what to do. It's possible, we'll decide. And the responsibility is trickling up. So every institution should attempt the third step, social responsiveness. And for this, tactical level of decision-making is simply not enough. We will have to gear towards strategic decision-making. All institutions. Principal drivers of organizational hierarchy. The conventional one starts talking about instructions. See, when something is appearing to be slipping out, halt everything that you are doing. I will dictate 10 instructions. Please go ahead. Only these 10 instructions are valid. No, that is not likely to take us forward. We should have thinking movements. We should have learning movements. Is it true? Can I find out for myself? Just wait for a few minutes. Think. That's all is what we need to talk about. dimensions of complexity, and that is exactly what we are attempting to do, subtly saying that please welcome complexity. All the topics that I have said simply mean that we should become a bit more design oriented in what is references are beginning to happen. People are talking open source, people are talking links. With pride, they are showing wherever we go, we are now able to connect. Some years passed, some decades passed, but reasonably well organized. They're able to show some good connectivity. Mostly everything is running on open source. So that's how it is. The five generation work, all five are together. All five generations are together. Traditionals, baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z. And it stopped. We have stopped counting these generations in this manner way back in 2015. So we thought that's the millennials. Millennials have also gone. They are now pushed into what we thought it was Z in 2015, moved to Generation Y as millennials. All of them are coming together. No segregation in terms of age group. So as the rhetoric goes, age now is just a number. Complex operational decision making in networked systems of humans and machines. That's the essence of the responsibility. Responsibility should stem from this context and from these circumstances. Complex operational decisions making in networked systems of human and machines. They're all networked. Machines can come in any form. In any form, they're all networked systems of humans and machines. It's a multidisciplinary approach. Now, where is the core discipline? Are we running much faster into this arena of multidisciplinary without cementing the foundational ideas? Again, we have to think as teachers. So we can't fight the internet, but what we can fight for? Digital rights, fighting online harms and content pollution, fighting personal addiction and privacy risks. The fight is to shape it into a safer, more open, and less intrusive tool. Algorithms are programmed to keep you glued to the screen by showing you content that triggers emotional, often outraged responses. It's a system designed to maximize engagement, not foster understanding. That is our job. Even today, there is no escape from saying once or twice, are you understanding? Are we testing the understanding? That's necessary. It is not that so much of knowledge is always at the fingertips. How much is being carried in one's own brain? That's very important. So we can talk about these things, but that's not the purpose. Responsibility entails that even if they are not made explicit, we should be able to take care. Online harms, content pollution, they are there. There are many things that are happening. The algorithmic decision making was a topic of discussions. Pleasing to note, in the House of Commons Science and Technology Committee, they have proposed forward a report. Algorithms in decision making came to focus shortly before the COVID broke in. Very good idea. Very nicely written report. I was lucky I could gain access to this report some time back, some years back. The COVID has jump-started many things. Algorithms have been used to aid decision-making, but in the last few years, the growth of big data, machine learning has driven an increase in algorithmic decision-making simply because beyond our ken is what we can easily tell. But there are ways and means of coping up once we understand how to enjoy that idea called complexity. Otherwise, we are hyper-conscious about what can slip into chaos, particularly with so many students. So we need to implore all of them to think complexity. Wait for that few minutes of thinking. How do we do that is a question by design. You versus the internet, can you beat the manipulation game is the question. The answer is very strongly based on complexity. At all levels, transparency, eliminate the unnecessary, automate repetitive work, prioritize with discipline, institutionalize simplicity. I'm sure you are able to see the screen. Yes? Responsible life as a netizen. Can you please? Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for the response. So the screen is obvious, and let's proceed further. Just a simple check. Agreements. How does this responsibility reflect for tomorrow's netizen while we think that they were all day before yesterday's netizens? Agreements, sending, replying, confidentiality. How do we manage that? We can write more statements like I've attempted to do on this somewhere in the space. Nothing tangible. If students who are joining the undergrad and postgraduate can visualize that abstract space, there's nothing like it. But we are not seeing it in front of us. We're not seeing it in front of us. We need to make them happen. Till today, mathematics is the most surefire, well-tested idea of making them scale step by step. Over centuries, it has evolved step by step. In easy steps, we will make those young minds grasp what is called the abstractions, which are the primary tools in handling complexity. But then, how do we make them understand these ideas? That's the challenge we are having from right now. Netizenship, I have explained this. Netiquette, explained this. How to be the very first topic in the couched as a study on the concept called privacy. What is being spoken of is netiquette, but in a more focused, more clear, recommendation-oriented manner, that we should now talk about outcomes, multi-stakeholders. That's how it should be. Responsible AI, therefore, is explainability, fairness, and human design, security, reliability, compliance. As I see the slide, to my right is all technology. To my left is all human. So responsible AI is somewhere in the middle. It's taking care of the user first, the fellow who is using this AI. Well, the end user computing has brought in several lessons which we have learned. We are hoping that somehow we will make it. Way back in 1998, the disappearance of cyberspace and the rise of code was spoken of. It was cited when in 1998, all over the net. Many things happened around that time in 1998. The disappearance of cyberspace and the rise of code. Andrew Shapiro, imagine the emergence of a remarkable new communications technology. Using this tool, you can interact with anyone located anywhere in the world, provided they have the same minimal hardware that you have. You can stay informed, express yourself in ways never before imaginable. It was anticipated, but then it's the numbers. It's sheer numbers that we are talking about. What is ChatGPT now? ChatGPT is not a single monolithic program you can point to. It's a multi-layered system built from several components: model weights, model architecture code, training pipelines, infrastructure tooling, safety layers, and production code. A concise breakdown explains what the code base looks like and why lines of code is not a meaningful single number. Model architecture and runtime. Weight files run into gigabytes and terabytes, the millions of parameters and their weightages. It's understandable. Unbelievable number of parameters and their weightages are happening in a Ziffy. Transformer model definition, attention, tokenizer, inference code, done in PyTorch, JAX, different coding ideas, data ingestion and pre-processing. This idea is catching on. Everybody wants to ingest data. Keep talking about reviews, they simply want to ingest data. Example filtering, augmentation, training scripts, distributed optimizers, checkpointing, mixed precision handling. The ideas were there, but now we want many people go through these and then build them. We are responsible till now, even now, and for the futures. We can't blame the technology in any manner. Fine-tuning, reinforcement learning from human feedback, reward model training, evaluation and validation, serving and inference infrastructure. I have about half a dozen slides to describe ChatGPT. I'm not doing anything. Describing ChatGPT as this many ingredients. Safety, moderation, and policy layer, they're built in. They're built in. But what is the concern? We have to be responsible. They're already anticipated, put together. Prompt filters, responsive sanitizers. In the earlier lecture, we have seen a deliberate attempt to build a hallucinating idea, a hallucinating outcome. Can happen. Classifier endpoints, rate limiting, logging and red teaming tooling, orchestration, telemetry, alerting. These are all technology terms which were in vogue. For once, we are seeing most of these ideas under a single overall umbrella product called ChatGPT. It has caught our imagination for many reasons. Not only what it is doing about LLM and sending them out. Why lines of code is misleading? Most of the intelligence is encoded in numeric model weights, gigabytes and terabytes. Weights are not measured in LOC. It is still there, the weightages, everything is the same concept. Nothing new. It's the volume of the code which is definitely daunting. It's beyond our ken. It's doing great things. And we are all into the society thinking that we are doing all that. Is that the way we move? Then we are questioning the way in which we are preparing the people to go into the society. How much of preparation was going on? Whether it's conservative, non-conservative, which society does it best, that is not my intention. But we all concur that they should go prepared. A small number of custom LOC can leverage large external code bases, many supporting repositories, rough scale examples, typical orders of magnitude, model architecture. Somewhere in LOC is a bad metric in this case. But then we are talking about small code segments, small footprint, no code basis, ideally no code. Aggregating all reports, but then it becomes such a gigantic idea sheerly because millions of parameters will have to be weighted, and that itself takes away terabytes, petabytes. And we have to work with those weights. Aggregating all repositories for ChatGPT is now being studied rapidly. By the time this lecture is completed, 3 more papers would have come related to ChatGPT and they are all available online. It's such a hot topic. Aggregating all repositories for a production-grade conversational AI platform often yields somewhere between tens of thousands to several 100,000 source lines across many repositories. Individual open source large model projects, model code plus training scripts, 5K to 50K. Though the code sizes per se in LOC are very small, it's very potential. We cannot keep on saying that atom, what is there in an atom? It is just that small, minute idea which nobody can see. But then a bomb happened from that. It really happened. So we need to be responsible. We need to take charge of these things and see what best we can do in leveraging this powerful idea, which is at the fingertip of all of us. A pre-trained model, I'll skip this, half a dozen slides. So therefore, we have to go back and see what is that tongue. The first time it was used, it was by Ingeman in 1961 as part of programming languages. A thunk function which acts as an intermediary, a piece of code designed to facilitate calls between different programs by managing how parameters are passed around. This idea should now become more and more dominant. Is this the way out? Please think. It's deep-rooted deeply within technical jargon, essential for programmers navigating complex systems. We have to seed this idea now. Thunk. AI, the thinking machine, the NVIDIA story is very fascinating to read. Anna University has given me an opportunity to work more closely. We got them to an event in Anna University. We were working together. We could get the GPUs installed for a while. They brought all the GPUs, put them in a hall. About 200-300 people had a hands-on on a 2-day workshop, and the NVIDIA events were all happening with an invite being sent to our students who want to listen, understand. It was a very good idea of parallel machines, the thinking machine. Stephen Witt interviews biographical insights that trace the life of the company's CEO, Jensen Huang, and how NVIDIA comes. They became sort of, almost inseparable, Jensen Huang, and that's now it is a fact of life. It's a $4 trillion company, NVIDIA. Decision making under uncertainty. If somebody tells me that these are the only choices, you tick one, it's not just probability. Uncertainty is not the same. We have to make decisions under uncertainty. When are we really getting stretched? Far from predictability, far from certainty. We didn't predict much in these exercises that we are experiencing. And yet we have to stand on and make decisions. Complexity science is perhaps the best idea. MIT has published a series, MIT Lincoln Laboratory series has produced 4 books, out of which Decision Making Under Uncertainty, Theory and Application is something that we have always been wanting to study. It has been presented nicely, categorized readily for the world which we are facing, namely the algorithmic. Theory, first problem, representation. Second, inference, parameter learning, structure learning. Decision problems, utility. Anything that is showing a gain for a large number of people, we automatically go and accept. Decision networks, games, formulation, the techniques, the core ideas that make all that I have spoken tick. They are well studied. They are all there. It's an unimaginary way in which all these things came together and are working, and it's something which is very fascinating. This wave of AI is so fascinating. Things which we were all there, we all thought it will be there, suddenly with some small pieces of segments, small code segments, they got together, and what we put together is something that is making us spend weeks, and then we want to make the students also learn that. State uncertainty, cooperative decision making, application, large applications, probabilistic surveillance, video search, dynamic models for speech applications, speech and vision. They were the first wave of AI, perception. Then learning. This is generation. Optimized airborne collision avoidance, multi-agent planning for persistent surveillance, integrating automation with humans. So the seesaw battle, responsibilities and duty, rights and freedoms. Where should we err if we have to err? responsibilities, and duty. Because the future is ahead of us, rights and freedoms will have to happen. So we want, outside of factual establishment, the organizations must have a social responsiveness to understand the rights and freedoms. That's the tussle that is going on. Every organization is having the same goal. We are technologists, at least I talk technology, so I am venturing into using to this learned audience that if we have to err, we have to err positive on responsibility and duty. That's the task of this lecture. So which implies that we may not cater to so many rights and freedoms. But what can we do? They are all built on a fulcrum called roles. So the social responsiveness as an idea, maybe it must have come day before yesterday. Maybe it must have come a year before, but it is necessary. How late? Better late than never. These are the reasons why we should be socially responsive. So we are extremely clear-minded. What we are experiencing in many contexts all over the world is something that we are battling out, that is curb the chaos. Chaotic, chaotic, chaotic. Why? Because something went out of bounds. So there's no other way. As software engineers, we're always talking, we celebrate complexity. Every organization should have a software that reflects it first. How much are we going to bank on open source from tomorrow? Our choice, our questions. We must have software. Are we going to talk about software that is tailored for any given organization, for a given organization? Once again, are we going to take upon ourselves in every organization without so much of ado and so much of depth in the domain called software engineering or computing or computation? Are we going to address that grade of complexity? Something that we have to ponder, just a point to ponder. Data never sleeps. It's always there. It's always coming. 4.3 million snaps. 500 hours of video, all in 60 seconds. 16 million texts, 347,000 tweets, 3 million plus 3.5 million tweets, 450,000, $4 million, $400 million has been spent on Amazon. 66,000 photos, 5.9 million. Please look at these conversions between dollar and rupee a bit more cautiously, but large sums in 60 seconds. We have more computational power than ever. It's obvious. It's distributed. All that I'm doing is a simple rudimentary laptop, which we are all wary. If anything happens, what to do with that? The fundamental concept of artificial intelligence and deep neural networks, not only the AI is learning, deep learning, we have to undergo that cycles of thinking, deep thinking. Volume, velocity, veracity, variety, validity, and value. Structured, unstructured, semi-structured. My learned speakers have always been emphasizing this. The data is not sleeping and data is all this. Real-world patterns of health inequality. The world is expected to be reflected as data for us. Unless there is a design, its use is not going to go correctly into the world, and that's the first point that I have made. Design. It's absolutely essential. Design for what? Design for responsibility. So automated, simple, controlled. We need to simplify the controls. We cannot keep on hoping that we'll get more. Just because the complexity is happening, we cannot keep on building on controls and controls. Zone of complexity. competence to capability. We are competent. We are here. We are all raring to go. Capabilities, creative, adaptive solutions. That is the meaning of capability. That is the only way in which we can regulate the chaos at a sweet spot and orient, because of that capability, towards generation of new knowledge. So these are all good signs of the entire world pushing more towards knowledge workers, knowledge work. Let's hope it happens sooner than later. We have been mooting this idea. That's the only solution, knowledge workers. So what is it that we are heading into? A potential celebration of complexity, which involves network theory, dynamical systems, statistical physics, collective behavior. So I'm working in cyber-physical systems to some extent, yes. Again, I have superannuated. It's the next generation students in front of all of us who will have to come out with much better approaches and solutions. Graph theory, scale freeness, scale worldness. It's a scale. Scale is important. Network theory is zooming us into large scale ideas. Synchronization, redundancy, synergy. So this is where we are. Somewhere the AI is penetrating all these domains. And it's a piece of software. Therefore, we are not wrong in saying that it's another software, a piece of software which has been formed in half a dozen slides that I described earlier, is what is penetrating all these domains of human endeavor. Is it simply connecting the dots? Is it simply meaning money? It's meaning many things. It's meaning responsibility. And how do we ensure? Decision-making algorithms based on artificial intelligence, a very good review. Sensors and Materials, volume 37, year 2025, recently published. Decision-making algorithms based on artificial intelligence. Algorithms, decision-making, user experience, and implementation. 4179 to 94, that's about 15 pages. And it's well worth reading that paper. It is impactful and it's nice. Talk about bias. The earlier speakers were also clearly mentioning that we have bias in AI. Many types, 8 types of bias. How do you know it has occurred? In a Ziffy, it is processing millions of data chunks. How do you know a bias has occurred in the outcome that it is producing? So we have to think, we have to find ways and means. There is bias. Hallucinations is one, bias is one. You look at this example, which I have picked up, how AI systems amplify bias. Imagine that these are all pieces of surveillance data. Large pieces of surveillance data are there. For whatever reason, the query is to find out what are those data chunks that reflect cooking in terms of images. What do you see in the image? The agent, the food, the heat. Is the stove so much hot? What is the heat source? How will it find? Tomorrow we'll say the temperature will also be sensed because all digitally indicated. What's the tool? The place? Everything can be analyzed. Lot of pictures are there, lot of data sets are there. They're all available, free, and we can use it. So they amplify the bias. You please see here, I'll go back. And there is a case where the agent was wrongly spotted. How and why I won't know that it is finding out, but how will you know? These are only a handful of images picked from something like 500 million sets, all in a flash. But is there a way of tracking that this error has occurred on this image? A male has been identified as a female. And therefore, we keep telling that we need to make a very sincere and a more in-depth study of what is it called the algorithmic decision making. It is not new. It was mooted in 1978 by a Nobel laureate. And how did we progress? Everything is algorithms. So we want a responsible AI to put together some ideas of human factored, algorithmic, but still that's not enough. The administration is brought in, the organizational structure is there, the social responsiveness. AI governance landscape, the global AI market, Indian AI market, these are all there. There are problems in compliances. Many DPDP Act was indicated. How many businesses today are capable of meeting those conformance requirements? Given time, we will confirm. No, this should have been already done. That's the way we talk. So given some years of time, we will definitely comply with these regulations, the new regulations, the new act. Continuing weak, responsible AI. Please remember the AI itself is weak. And we are spending time understanding that this is the right time to build our responsible systems. Responsible AI. People who can shoulder the responsibility. And that's what we have embarked on. So many batches have happened. And how does it catch on? It has to go to the students. So how do we do that? Public trust and safety precludes growth and scaling opportunities. The governance landscape of responsible AI is marked by fast evolving public and private regulatory approaches. Responsible AI, it's no more only the return on investment. Responsible return on investment is what we need to look into. So many regulations have been cited by my learned friends who have been speaking in these FDPs. So many more will come. So many compliance checking authorities will come. Talking about the same example of capability maturity model, nicely propagated by Dr. Watts Humphrey himself through Software Engineering Institute, it took quite some time to come. Talking about a regulatory approach called NBA, takes some time to come. Global awareness around ethics is growing along with initiatives by policymakers to boost AI in their territories. Can we have what is called the ethical decision making? I picked up a few slides related to the Niti Aayog and NASSCOM. They are trying to build toolkits that will augment the algorithmic approach very nicely, and then the way in which we build in the ethics along with the responsible AI. It's nicely done, going through the reviews of that and see how many things have happened, in what categories: standards development, private regulation, policy guidance. In all these aspects, they are talking about responsible AI initiatives globally. NASSCOM, Responsible AI Hub at NASSCOM, fostering responsible AI adoption. And I know Kamna was mentioning some time back that more partners have come, more collaborators have come, many companies have come. It's perhaps an oldish exercise that I have attempted, but that's how it is. The dedicated support from Responsible AI Working Group, not only Deloitte and Fractal, Microsoft, IBM, TCS, there are many more collaborating organizations that have come into the exercise of augmenting algorithmic decision making with these ideas called ethics, which were a part of the human, so that the responsibility getting onto the shoulders of human is still better understood, better attempted. And we are doing it nicely when it's only weak AI. It may be predicted. Many things in technology predictions have gone awry. There is no second opinion. At the moment, from the state of affairs in weak AI to go to strong AI, it's expected there will be a few more decades. But that cannot make us complacent. And cannot make us complacent. So we should be clear-minded and say that these are certain attempts which we have to augment. We have to build into our way of using these software pieces that are so fascinating. Again, whatever said and done, my need determines. I barely know how to use more than 7 to 10% of the PowerPoint features that are there with me over the last 2 decades. To use a Unix operating system, you don't need any more than 15 commands. You can keep using it. Why? Because we are problem driven. Where are the problems that we are defining? To take us into that illustrative way of learning the technologies. Hardly a few. And we are fascinated by that. So private regulations, standards, all should come together. Some extent, yes, it seems to be happening. Let's do some consolidation now. Responsibility refers to the duty or obligation of an individual or group to fulfill certain roles, tasks, or duties in a reliable and accountable manner. Responsibility is an important aspect of ethical and moral behavior, as it requires individuals to take ownership of their actions and knowledge. Computing machinery today can come in any form, but all these must still go in. So I would just take the liberty of going through the slides up to a point where the context is defined, specified. That is this. Complex operational decision making, the third level of decision making, strategic, tactical, and operational. That means going into operations. Making in networked systems of humans and machines. That is the concern which warrants a multidisciplinary approach. So let's get back. What is the goal? We should arrive at that sweet spot very quickly. Chaos, we may have to endure up to a point. Sweet spot, use it for what? New knowledge generation. If it is banking so much on interdisciplinary, it's almost a corollary that everything should become interdisciplinary. If you have to goal new knowledge. So maybe our education system, the pedagogy, will have to seriously rethink. How will a new knowledge happen in a level of graduation all of a sudden? Therefore, can we have so much of technology penetrating those levels? Anyway, it was a good survey to have participated. I don't know, I responded. Let's see what happens, looking up for the results of the survey. So system science, sociology, quantum mechanics, everything is penetrated. This was true in many ways. Bias, I mentioned about this. So therefore, we are talking about human and machines in a networked system at an operational level. Accountability, reliability, ethical decision making, learning from mistakes. Responsibility plays a significant role in building trust and respect in relationships and contributes to a sense of integrity. There is no way in which we can survive a mistake if we are not learning from them. And it's a nice methodology which we'll have to evolve in working through. So how are AI risks and challenges generated? Initial weak AI models were problem-driven. Because we are so problem driven, the AI is weak. Do we want to be problem driven? We may have to be. We may have to pick more and more complex problems. Strong AI is a few decades away. AI is shifting from human expert knowledge to machine learning models. So error in training data, error in test data can manifest like this. For a cat, the umbrella is not seen in the position where the real umbrella is. There is a displacement and the cat is running after a displaced shadow umbrella. Why is it happening? There is an error in training data. There is an error on test data. But what volume of data can we find out these errors? Oh, it's so vast, so much of voluminous. 6 parameters I have said. Data never sleeps. By the time I completed this statement, 60 seconds have lapsed. So who will spot the errors? How are we prepared for these errors? A male has been recognized as a female. If in a handful of zeroed in pictures that happens, over 500 million images, what's the probability of it? How many will happen? Based on a probability. Why general artificial intelligence will not be realized? Humanities and Social Sciences Communications, nature.com, hard or strong AI is still many decades away by many projections. It's still weak AI. We are not transformative. We are pretty much generative in our approach. So what is it that we have to do? Verification and validation of what? Of such a gigantic approach, gigantic exercise. Addresses where are you building the software right? Are you building the right software? Verification and validation thus comes back, even after 6 decades, as the number one challenge for all of us. Developers, testers. And what is it that we are going to look at? Pre-training, transformer, fine-tuning and reward model. The 6 slides that I used describe ChatGPT as small code segments putting together made it so powerful, so much more powerful. The weights, the parameters, millions of parameters. And then we have the computerized system. All that I did was the Java virtual machine model instead of the Java virtual machine, or a virtual machine idea that made cloud computing such a wonder and such a phenomenal success in the recent times. The GPT. I've been party with Project Management Institute when the cloud infrastructure was coming in. The distributed systems theory was deemed important and we used it. Last slide, Kamna, I'm going into the last slide. Hardware is abstracted. It's a hardware abstracted. It's hardware binary interfaces abstracted. Programming interfaces abstracted. That was the virtual machine. Pluck it out and put GPT. Then you understand the scenario. What is happening? That is what we are into. But then all this most important safeguard, responsibilities manifested as duties, clearly defined roles, functionalities, and the rights entitlements. But I cannot resist drawing your attention to the seesaw battle between rights and freedom versus responsibilities and duties. If we have to err with roles as the fulcrum, we will have to err towards responsibilities and duties. So let there be some controversies, let there be some fights. We have to live with that. If at all we have to err, we err on responsibility towards, not err on. We have to err towards in that seesaw battle, responsibilities and duties. Rights and freedoms can wait for a while. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopal. Amazing session. And thank you to all the faculty members for joining in. Tomorrow the session will start at 2 o'clock. So please join. Yeah, attendance is on Zoom. So if you've joined the Zoom, your attendance will be marked. Assessment is on Future Skills Prime. I've shared the document also. So thank you so much. Exam is on Future Skills Prime. Anytime you can take by Sunday. Kasarla Sagarji. Okay.
I
Thank you, sir.
must mention that because of the nice opportunities which AICTE NASSCOM gave me through Kamna, the third iteration is much more appealing of the same lecture. So I wish that whenever we get such opportunities to talk to learned scholars, teachers, so many teachers, please give us repeated opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopal, and I look forward to working with you in Mahindra University also.
Yes, we will work on that. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Stop sharing, then I can leave. Thank you.
Yes.